Second and 15 as they're chopping down on his legs, and then they take him down high as well. Ika finished it.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Pass is picked off, intercepted, Cedric Banks.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
This is Brown right here. Stops, scoops it up and in. Wow! Oh, my God!
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Stretch way, averaging 51, and has that one blocked. And that's another touchdown for Dallas. This time it's Golston. Corey Clement came in and blocked it. And Golston winds up as the 19th Cowboy to score a touchdown this season.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
And here we go this Tuesday afternoon. Much to get to, including here in about 25 minutes, TCU football coach Sonny Dykes, as most everybody, not everybody, but I'd say 95% of the schools who had spring football have wrapped up their games. We'll also today look at Baylor men's basketball roster after another commitment. D'Antoine Grimes from Kilgore College, and a story behind him, committed to Scott Drew late last night. And Ashley Hodge will join us today at 4 to kind of break down Baylor's roster moving forward. And then D'Antoine will join us at 5:10 today from Kilgore, Texas, and a part of a very deep and a very, very talented and a hard conference to win in Region 14. Mack Rhoades at 4:20. Craig's off the radar. Paul's top 5. John McClain, Hall of Fame writer. All of that today on Sikkim 365 Radio. Do we have the Matt Campbell graphic? I wanted to start with a college football note and then get into story and background. So I saw this from Mike Green, think about this if you're a college football coach. Matt Campbell, the last 8 years, these are his running backs. At Toledo with Kareem Hunt, at, of course, Iowa State with David Montgomery, in the last 3 years at Iowa State with Breece Hall. That's not a bad way to make a living.
No, that's 3 starting NFL running backs there, and Breece Hall not yet. We'll find out on Thursday or probably Friday where he's going. But he's going to be a starting running back this next year in the NFL, Breece Hall. And Kareem Hunt's off-the-field issues notwithstanding, that's a guy who, even though he's with Cleveland right now and they've got another excellent running back on the team that starts. They're kind of in a timeshare situation. Still a starting caliber NFL running back. That's pretty darn good.
Yeah, I mean, good. He's got good backs, and, that's not been their issue at Iowa State. That's not what's prevented them from winning the Big 12 title. It's been, more other areas, but defensively and running back-wise, yeah, it's a very solid program.
And the whole thing was about who's next to fill the last 8 years of which Matt Campbell – as for a while there, Mike Shanahan, when he was in the NFL with Denver, whoever, and then, of course, Robert Griffin III's rookie year, they had Alfred Morris. He doesn't matter. Whatever they ran, somebody was going to – Mike Anderson, the kid, the little itty-bitty running back from Oklahoma. It didn't matter who they were. And, of course, they also had Terrell Davis, who was a Hall of Famer that led them along with Elway and company to a Super Bowl.
You talking about Quentin Griffin?
Quentin Griffin, yeah. He had a big year at Denver one year. They stuck him in, and because of what they did with their offensive line as well.
I don't like talking about Quentin Griffin.
I do.
Yeah, I know you do.
Oh, he tore up Florida State in the championship game?
Yes.
Was that? Okay.
Tore up Texas at one point as well. Yeah, he's a good little back. Little not pun intended, but he's a good player. Yeah, I mean, the Broncos, were the running back U of the NFL there for, I guess, a little while, you could say. I mean, Iowa State's definitely not running back U, but, as far as the Big 12 goes, they're certainly in the conversation. I mean, Oklahoma's had their fair share of pretty salty running backs. Texas has had a lot of talent. I don't know that it's all translated great, but they have put a lot of guys in the pros, and they'll put Bijan in the pros and probably – Keelan Robinson, and whoever else, Roshan Johnson will probably, be there soon as well. So, that's a good little group, though. I mean, Montgomery and who's the other one, the last one? Montgomery and
Breece Hall and
Breece Hall.
Hunt.
Yeah, Breece Hall is who I was trying to think of. Breece Hall. That's a pretty special run that they've been on with those two. So, yeah, I'm curious as well. Who's going to be the guy? You're placing not only – your running back, but your quarterback, your big tight end, you're placing a lot. And they did get some good news, though. Like Xavier Hutchinson coming back. I don't think that was necessarily like a given, and yet that was a really good early return. So Iowa State, I think, is in a good spot this year where they're not really sitting there weighed down by expectations at this point. As where maybe last year there was already that talk starting up of, oh, man, they've got Purdy back, and they've got Breece Hall back, and they've got Charlie Kolar back, and they've got Hutchinson, and they've got this guy and that guy. And now, because a lot of the familiar faces are gone, it's kind of like they're not even being talked about, really. And I don't know if that's because people are hesitant because they were talked about a lot last year and then they didn't live up to it or what, but they're kind of flying under the radar, and I think that's a good spot for them to be in, and maybe not so good for the rest of the Big 12.
Yeah, maybe that's better to not have expectation.
Yeah, and I understood, again, how they were slowly rising, and then 2 years ago played for the championship, lost to Oklahoma. Brock is back, their running back, who played a little bit last year, and so they'll find somebody, and it usually is. Yeah, there's differences between a Kareem Hunt, David Montgomery, and Breece Hall. But one thing is you could feed those guys all the carries you want, and now the next man up. And usually someone like that, they'll find somebody else. And it brings up Baylor because of what they had last year. The tandem, Abram Smith was the banger, although he scored on a couple of long touchdowns. And then you had Ebner. And now you wait to see what they have with Squirrel Williams and Tay McWilliams and also, of course, Jordan Jenkins, among others, Josh Fleeks. And can they now start with this Jeff Grimes offense, wide zone, and what they're doing? Do they just, plug people in? And Abram Smith, of course, now waiting to see where he ends up in the National Football League.
Well, I'd be curious to know y'all's thoughts because Grayson and I were talking earlier, and I don't think Tay McWilliams is just plug and play for Abram Smith. I don't think they have a guy on this team that's plug and play for Abram Smith, much less Abram Smith and Treston Ebner. I thought Tay McWilliams looked fine on Saturday. Squirrel Williams was clearly the best player. But again, you can't rely on him being healthy. And until we see him get into a season and play week after week after week, I can't really get really excited about Squirrel Williams and just say, oh, yeah, well, he's the guy next year, kind of like UT saying about Bijan or what other schools are saying about who they know is the guy. I don't think Baylor really has the guy. I think they think Squirrel Williams could be one of the guys. I think they think Tay McWilliams could be one of the guys, but I don't know that they have the guy or the guys like they did last year. And Grayson actually brought it up, but I'm curious. I mean, would you be surprised if they went to the transfer portal if a veteran running back were to suddenly appear there? Do you think that would be we know wide receiver, we all agree that they probably should pursue a receiver that's a veteran, but would y'all think that there is maybe a need to do that at running back, or do you think that they're satisfied, or are you satisfied with what they have?
Well, look, I mean, if you start at the fifth running back and go up, there's two guys in Quaylon Jones and Josh Fleeks, even though I do like the potential of Fleeks, but again, it's been 4 years, so that could wind up being other places. And now that Josh Fleeks has been through his spring at running back, maybe he goes to a place where he can.
No, you're talking about people coming in.
But
right?
yeah. And so, but you could have two guys going out, easily, at that position. And Tay McWilliams is fine. Squirrel Williams, what you said. And I think Jordan Jenkins has probably the most overall potential of all of them. But again, he's a redshirt freshman and nobody really popped. So I do think two things. On the positive side, I think the offense is built such that you don't necessarily have to have a bell cow as long as everybody is effective when they're in there, but it works better when you have a bell cow, and I don't know if they have that guy, Craig. So yeah, if there's a guy who winds up in the portal that is that guy, then I would go get him.
We didn't know whether Abram Smith was going to be that guy, but we at least knew what he was in high school. And Jordan Jenkins was that at Lindale. Abram Smith was a spectacular running back at Abilene High. Don't know as much about Tay McWilliams. We knew what Josh Fleeks was at Cedar Hill, which was kind of almost a Treston Ebner type. But again, at the high school level, I don't know as much what Quaylon Jones was or Tay McWilliams were as far as high school. And I usually keep my ear to the ground on I knew about Abram Smith. And he proved out to be what he was in high school his last year at Baylor.
Yeah, I just think they have questions there, because you do wonder about Squirrel's health, and you do wonder if Tay McWilliams can take the other end of the load there and be able to have 20 carries on his shoulders, or maybe not even 20, but like 15 carries a game or so. Yeah, I don't know. I'm very curious to kind of see how they view that running back room, and obviously – it's like Football Bob said, I think, and a couple of other people have said, a lot will also depend on what quarterback's playing, because I think Football Bob said it yesterday, but, do you feel like you can run an offense without the quarterback having to run a lot? Well, that helps, or do you feel like Gary Bohannon's going to have to run a lot, and that's going to, play into it as well. So I'm curious to see how that continues to shake out and if they feel satisfied with what they have, or maybe they keep looking around a little bit. But, yeah, definitely a question mark there.
Tay McWilliams' senior year at Lamar down in the Beaumont Triangle. Rosenberg, Texas is actually where he was. 1,582 yards, 19 touchdowns. And so, he had three 200-yard rushing games in his career as well. So he has a little history there. Abram Smith was a dog. And then he also came back from some injuries as well when he was at Abilene High School. Meanwhile, Quaylon Jones is a private school, Trinity Christian in Cedar Hill, which has produced a lot. Had 1,251 yards, 18 touchdowns as a senior. And we've seen those who've come out of Trinity Christian School in Cedar Hill or other schools in the Dallas area, Houston area, in San Antonio area when it comes to private school players.
I had, watching the game the other day, the spring game, he came in later in it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'd completely forgotten about him.
Yeah, no.
And again, since he's fifth currently on that depth chart. So again, you're probably, if he either really loves it here and wants to stay and thinks he can contribute, or he wants to play more and go somewhere where that fits his skill level a little bit better, or maybe you do have all the guys coming back. But I'm interested to see what happens in the next 3 or 4 days with some guys, because again they have until May 1st, which is Sunday.
Yeah, and also, Craig, you and Grayson with the Bearcast that comes out every Tuesday. I did see where I thought I saw a note with Kyan David Roberts-Day, who's the young man who's a star receiver, a tight end out of Missouri. Who knows what they do with him, but I thought I saw where there was at least the discussion about him. He's a big dude as a possibility of a running back.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there was something out there about that. I don't know. I think Grayson might have mentioned something earlier, but I didn't see anything. I wasn't seeking it out. I mean, I don't know where that was mentioned, but he did say something about, I mean, we know Roberts-Day is going to play tight end. So, they move guys around, and it wouldn't be surprising as his size is really good, and his athleticism is pretty good too. If they, tried him back there, that wouldn't be surprising. If he can, get upfield and break some tackles, he would certainly be useful in that room. But yeah, I'm just curious kind of how it shakes out, and I think every team in the country has, those types of questions right now after spring ball, and you asked the question at the beginning of the show yesterday, and we never really returned to it, but I would be interested in hearing just people riffing on what they think about their team after the spring games, because you threw it out there, and like I said, I don't think we really got to it, but, if you're an Oklahoma fan, how you feeling after watching the spring game? If you're an Iowa State fan, and I know there's some that are still ongoing or whatever, but if you finished, I'd love to hear, especially Big 12 schools, but anybody in general, I'd love to hear your feedback on what you think, because, we can pay as much attention as possible, but the people who are true fans of their school always know a bit more and have a bit of a better feel than those who are maybe, more outside observers like we can be with some teams, especially outside of the Big 12. So, yeah, fire those off if you got opinions on your team's spring game.
There were some reactions on the chat room. There were some as far as Texas and Oklahoma. There were some on Texas Tech and West Virginia, among others, and we'll read those as you send them to us. And then also, again, Sonny Dykes will join us in about 10 minutes, TCU football coach, and we'll discuss TCU's spring game. They had a low-scoring game, but I never look at scores. No. Sometimes people have different systems of scoring. Sometimes it's very vanilla, and then sometimes it's just it's all out. Even some of, like Art Briles' Baylor, they were going to put some points up in a spring game just because of the style of offense, and that's the way it was. And then at times, again, I've never taken much out of those as far as the score, whether it's 30-27 or 12-10. It doesn't matter much to me.
Yeah, I mean, when you got like a third-string quarterback playing the second-string defense, or then the first-string quarterback's playing the first-team defense, and then the third string's playing that's not even the same thing. So, yeah, it's a score is silly to worry about or even care too much about.
You're watching something that in practical life is not applied.
Yeah, like it's not a thing at all.
It's a thought exercise for coaches, so they can see different things. Yeah.
So we'll hear from Sonny Dykes on that in just a moment. Also, on the D'Antoine Grimes commitment from Kilgore College, a couple of notes. And I did see this, and I tried to respond to some of you on Sikkim365.com in the premium section. He committed yesterday evening to Baylor from Kilgore College. Again, I mentioned this, that I covered that region for about 30 years. And they were in the national tournament, Kilgore College. Brian Hobright is the head coach. There's a connection. There's always a connection. Bill Peterson, who's on the Baylor staff, has known Coach Hobright for quite some time. Also, Chad McCoy is on the Kilgore College basketball staff. He's a Baylor graduate and also was a GA for Baylor for a couple of years as well. So there's a connection there as well. He flew kind of under the radar until last summer. He went to a GA 48 showcase in Florida. That's where he's from, the top returning sophomore junior college players. And that's where he all of a sudden popped, had a lot of offers. Baylor was waiting to see how their roster was able to kind of like, okay, what's going to happen? Because if Akinjo doesn't leave, then this spot's probably not open. And so they waited, but they've been on D'Antoine for quite some time. Things worked out. They offered him, and he'll join Baylor. He had 3 years left of eligibility.
So he's third transfer in less than a week. I mean, that's a
loaner from Brigham Young, Jalen Bridges, West Virginia, and yes, actually is a transfer, a junior college transfer in D'Antoine Grimes from Kilgore College.
Third transfer in a week, and based on a conversation that was had earlier, they've got one scholarship available. So Adam Flagler?
No,
Matthew Meyer?
In my opinion, if Flagler comes back, it's open, and I don't think you're going to see Matthew Meyer back at Baylor.
Regardless of anything. Yeah, okay. And that's all you need to say. And yeah, so like I'm kind of there too of like Matthew Meyer's played his last days in green and gold most likely because quite simply they don't have room now. And I think you guys would agree. Would you rather have Adam Flagler back than Matthew Meyer next year?
Yeah, and look, there's always ways to create another scholarship by maybe moving somebody who's not going to play on down into the transfer portal themselves. But do you do that to them after May 1st when they won't be able to play in the winter? They would be able to play after the semester maybe, and again, so there's a lot of complicated things going on here, and May 1st is a key deadline. I don't think Matthew Meyer is going to play college basketball anymore anyway, so I think it winds up being a moot point as long as Adam Flagler does in fact come back.
He could though. I mean, if it doesn't work out, he could come back. It's just he probably wouldn't be coming back to Baylor. He'd have to go somewhere else, and maybe he goes and makes some NIL money in the meantime or something, but it looks like it's probably NBA or transfer portal for him, and I don't really see him going to the transfer portal. But then again, I don't know his intentions. But it did lead to an interesting conversation earlier of Jack and Grayson were going back and forth on this about Adam Flagler, and it's kind of a weird position to be in because you can't be mad at him. He's doing what's best for him, and he's exploring the NBA, right?
Can't be mad at anybody that does that.
No, but at the same time, if you're Scott Drew and staff, there's this transfer out there that you really want. You may have noticed this. Where's he from, Jack? Where's that new transfer from? That one that everybody's going crazy over? South Dakota State. That's the kid from South Dakota State. Like 50 schools have already offered him, and it's all the blue bloods. And Baylor's one of those schools. So it's just an interesting position where you can't be mad at Adam Flagler for being in the draft, but they also kind of need to know what he's going to do, or maybe they don't. Maybe they know already, but it makes for an interesting set of circumstances for that final, what looks like that final roster spot.
I'm not trying to make, by any means am I influencing Adam Flagler. He doesn't listen to me. Great young man. Fantastic young man, like all the other ones seem to be as well. I just think that Adam Flagler wants to kind of get an idea. But I think if Adam Flagler decides he's going to just test the waters, he's coming. That's why we have Ashley on today. I wanted Ashley to help answer some of those roster questions for us as well. And he'll do that with us at 4 o'clock. But if Flagler comes back, you have the guards, Flagler, Cryer, George, Love, and Bonner. That's pretty salty. Along with then your bigs that include Bridges, Thamba, Lohner, and then Turner, Loveday, Joshua, who's the young class of 2022 player, big, tall drink of water, and then, of course, Jonathan Chamwa-Chachua, who will probably not be available for the 2022 season, but down the road at some point. Let's break here, come back with TCU football coach Sonny Dykes as we continue our spring tour, college football programs, and the Frogs with a new face for the first time in nearly 2 decades. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
At Allen Samuels, the new 2022 Wagoneer Series 2 and 3 has 2.9% for 72 months, plus $3,000 in bonus cash. All first responders get an extra $500 or take 0% for 72 months. Shop this incredible vehicle that gives you performance, style, perfect for your family, and reliability your family deserves. Today from Allen Samuels in Waco. Come shop their huge new car and truck inventory.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
He is the head football coach at TCU. Sonny Dykes joins us, Sikkim 365 Radio at 365 Sports, as they wrapped up their spring on Friday, spring drills, and now focus on the rest of the offseason into what, of course, is fall camp in August. And Coach Dykes, thanks for your time with Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina. I'm David Smoak. Thanks for your time. What did you, in particular, when you make a change like that, and you've moved around, and that's what happens, what did you have to make sure you found out during spring?
Well, biggest thing is you want to try to make sure that you have what you need in terms of players at certain positions. I mean, for us, it starts with quarterback, and we needed to get into it and find out, do we have guys on campus that we think we can play for a championship and win a championship with? And the good thing was we felt like the answer coming out of spring was a definite yes. Was excited about that. That's so important in today's college football world. It's just making sure that you have that guy at that position, that can play at a really high level. And then the second thing is, just getting the buy-in from the players, having an opportunity to sit down with those guys and develop a work ethic, develop a toughness, develop a culture that you feel like you can win with. That's always a big question that you have. Can you capture those guys when you take a job? Sometimes it takes a while. And how quickly are they going to jump on board? And you got to give our players a lot of credit. I think, we had a really good off season. It started for us with Kaz Kazadi, our strength and conditioning coach, and I think he's one of the best in college football. And he did a great job of developing our guys physically, and at the same time, really working hard to develop them mentally, create a kind of a culture in our program of accountability and toughness and hard work. And so, we came out of our 10-week program, felt pretty good about that. Rolled into spring ball and see if it carried over to the field. And we were able to get a lot of things taught to our guys. And again, I was really impressed with the way they worked, their attitude and their approach that they had every day. It felt like we had, 15 really good practices, and everybody really worked hard and got better.
Coach, you mentioned the quarterbacks and that you have 2 that you really like and you feel they can play. I know you didn't name a starter ending spring, but you're going to see how it plays out. Is that kind of an added? I know most of the time you'd like to be able to say, this is sure the guy. He's our one, but if you like the two guys, is it an added benefit as a coach in a new job that you get to see how they both respond to being in a competition throughout the summer?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, typically, this is kind of my fourth time to go someplace and to take over a program. And, it's kind of always been the same thing. You have a quarterback competition, when you go someplace, and usually it takes a little longer than you want it to for that to be decided. As I said earlier, fortunately, we've got two guys. I mean, one is Max Duggan, who's played a lot of football for us, really been a 3-year starter around here. And then, Chandler Morris is a guy that we feel like has a lot of potential and, played well in a limited role last year at TCU. So, really excited about both of them. Both of them have some real strengths and some things that they can do. And so it's, I think it's great to have that competition. And what always happens is, you come out of spring ball and you go, well, I think this guy probably has a little bit of a lead. And then typically what happens over the summer is one of them just outworks the other one. And I've seen it happen. I mean, I went to Cal. We recruited Jared Goff. He enrolled early in the spring, and coming out of spring ball, he was our fourth quarterback. And, once about a week into fall camp, he was our third, and then he became our second. And then before long, for our first game, he was our starter and started 3 years and went on to be the first pick in the NFL draft. And so you just don't know who's going to make a move. You don't know which one of the guys is going to work the hardest and which one of the quarterbacks, the players are going to really get behind and believe in. Because a big part of their success is just the players believing in them and having confidence in them. And there's so many little things and nuances and dynamics that go into making that happen. And so the summer's so critical. We'll come out of the summer, get into fall camp and see where they are at that point. And hopefully, about 2 weeks before the first game, we'll be able to name a starter and go from there.
Coach, surrounding those quarterbacks, I know you got a couple of skill guys that are former Temple Wildcats, so just down the road from us, and Jared Wiley and Quentin Johnston. I know that they were limited, injuries came into play during the springtime, but how do you feel about your skill talent surrounding those quarterbacks, and how much of a help will they be in helping whoever the guy is pulling the trigger settle into that spot?
Well, you know how that is. I mean, it's so important to have a great supporting cast. Really, that has so much to do with the success that your quarterback has is getting comfortable with those guys, not feeling like he doesn't have to do everything himself. It's a great thing when your quarterback has a lot of confidence in the guys he's throwing the ball to or the guy that he's handed it to. It really changes the way they view the game. And, they have an opportunity to play with a lot more confidence and a lot less risk. You don't have to take a bunch of chances when you've got guys that can make plays. And so, as you said earlier, Quentin Johnston is one of the best wide receivers, I think, in college football. Had a great year last year, was first team all Big 12. He really worked hard over the spring, thought he got a lot better. Expect big things from him next year. And Jared Wiley was somebody that transferred over from Texas, and we're excited about Jared. We didn't get to see what he could do really this spring. He was limited early and ended up having a surgery, but we anticipate him, being full go when we start back up in August. And really excited about what he can do. Love his tape at Texas and obviously at Temple, and feel like both those guys are going to be really good players for us.
You have a young man in Tomlinson, Hodges Tomlinson, who's a fantastic player. We covered him. We broadcast the games when he was at Midway. How good is, and he played with Tanner Mordecai when of course, your quarterback at SMU. How good is he?
You know what? He's really good. I mean, Trey is ultra competitive. Has remarkable explosiveness and change of direction. He's one of those guys that just loves to play football. He's got a ton of confidence. He has one of the most important things a corner can have, and that's a short memory. He's one of those kids, if he gives up a play, he doesn't care. He comes right back and competes just as hard or harder the next play. And I think he's got a chance to be a really, really good football player. I mean, he's just got a great skill set. And as I said, the thing I love about him is just, he plays with a chip on his shoulder. You're going to get the very best out of him every single day. And that's about the most important thing you can say about a football player is he's going to go out there and give it everything he has every day. And so he's very, very talented. Expect big things from him. And I think he has a chance to have a really good year this year.
What, is it a short memory, or is it just so much confidence in his ability he figures out what he did so wrong so quickly?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I think that's a position you can't be scared. I mean, you're going to give up some plays. I don't care who you are. I mean, you're going to give up some plays occasionally at that spot. And, Trey doesn't care. I mean, he understands that he's also going to make a bunch more because he's going to play very aggressive. And so there's a fine line there. Sometimes corners play on top, never give up big plays, but Trey's not one of those guys that wants to do that. I mean, he wants to challenge. He doesn't want to give up any plays. He doesn't want to give up a 3-yard completion or a 30-yard completion. And so he plays so aggressive. I think it really changes the way that you have to attack them, when you're playing against them. I know when I was at SMU, we would play TCU and Trey was playing corner, and you had to do some things differently when you tried to attack him, just because he was going to be there and challenging every single throw. And those kind of guys are great to have on your defense. I mean, they really change the mentality. They help everybody around them play aggressively and play with confidence.
Coach, it was obviously a whirlwind towards the end of last year, the whole transition. Now you've got, about 5 months under your belt. You've seen recruiting classes signed and the portal's been open and spring ball's now closed. Just what have these first few months been like? And do you feel, completely settled in at this point?
Yeah, I think so. I think the number one thing you have to do is you got to win the players over. I mean, you got to get the players believing in your vision for the program. As I said earlier, I mean, so much of that is strength and conditioning in your program. And do those guys believe in that? Do they believe in the nutrition program? Do they believe in the recovery program? All the things that are going to allow them to maximize their talent. And I think those guys have really bought into that. For us, nutrition is one of the things that's really critical to helping keep us, strong as a program. It helps guys recover. I think it helps their mental frame of mind. I think it does so much for guys when they're eating the right things and putting the right things in their body. It allows them to recover better, allows them to get bigger, stronger, faster. Obviously, I think it keeps them safe and healthy. And so, those guys have really bought into that part of our program. And so it begins there because, it's hard to get to point B if you really don't have that buy-in out of your players. And again, a big part of that's your strength staff and what they're selling every single day in the weight room and their program. And then, the way that you interact with your players every day. It's so important in today's college football that they know you care about them off the field just as much or more than you do on the field. And so, you got to create that kind of culture. You got to do a good job of making sure everybody understands, hey, look, it's not about me. It's about us and what we can do together. And, that's what good coaches do. They have teams that the sum of the parts is greater than they are individually. And so that's what we want to get to. We want to have that kind of football team where, our guys, play better than we are and our team is better than we should be. And, when we get to that point, that's when we know we're going to have a chance to have a great team.
Sonny Dykes, head coach at TCU. I'm not suggesting that there's any decision to be made by the quarterbacks you have as far as what they look at. But with now this thing called the transfer portal and with a position that might be up for grabs, or at least the competition is very much a heavy dose of you have to wait and see. Baylor has the same thing perhaps going on, even with the returning starter as well. How do you juggle that, or does that come into play with May 1st coming up, the transfer deadline and all that? Is that now something you got to kind of juggle competition differently after the spring?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's something you have to manage much differently now than you've had to in the past. I mean, a big part of your job now is just recruiting your current players, making sure that they understand your vision for them and how they're going to fit into the program and what their future holds and what you think about them. And I think that's why communication, between coaches and players is so important. It's really, really important to young people to know that, hey, look, we appreciate what you're doing. Here's what we see you. Here's what we think you can become. Here's the plan for you to become that. And I think if they get those things, then typically they're going to be comfortable, assuming they're having a good experience where they are. And that's our job, is to do a good job, again, communicating with those young men and making sure that they see the vision that we have for them. And they know that they can get there, and we give them tools to get there. And so, the quarterback spot's not any different than anything else. I mean, typically those guys have a pretty good feeling about who's leading, who's behind, and all that. But as I said, those things change very quickly. And the summer, in my estimation, and my belief, is so important to that position. You know, how much time do they spend with the receivers on their own, throwing and catching? And, you know, who do those guys really begin to trust and believe in? Because, you know, that's so important. That quarterback has got to be a leader in your program. It's got to be somebody that everybody on the team believes in when times get tough. And, you know, you're behind and you have to make plays and you got to do the right thing and you got to do the hard thing over and over again. They have to believe that guy can get it done. And so, you know, those competitions will take time to sort out. And, you know, I think that both the quarterbacks feel good about their opportunities, you know, to win the job. And, you know, and then we have some young guys that are biting on their heels as well. So we feel like we're in pretty good shape at that position.
What is the difference in recruiting a player on your own team than recruiting a kid when he's in high school, especially when you are coming in and that initial shock of the coach I came here to play for is gone. There's a different guy now, and there's a lot of emotions flying around about that, valid or not, because you just kind of feel a bunch of things when you get that news.
Yeah, look, that's hard for young people. It really is. I mean, change is always tough for everybody, and especially when another group has recruited you. And, you know, what happened with us, we lost some D linemen to the transfer portal because we went from a 4-down scheme to a 3-down scheme. And so there were some defensive ends that felt like that were here before that felt like they probably didn't have a role in our defense. And, you know, I wish they would have gone through spring because I think they would have realized, okay, look, this is, you know, there's going to be a role for me in this defense. You know, our D coordinator, Joe Gillespie, does such a great job of doing that, finding things that guys can do and developing those strengths and letting them play to those strengths and creating opportunities for players to get on the field and to play with those skills that they have. But that's part of college football today. That's part of, you know, the world we live in. And, you know, I've always believed that players ought to have opportunities to move on if that's what they want to do and if they think it's going to be the best decision for them. You know, the thing that you know, that I hope that happens is, you know, I hope that we communicate with the players well enough and they trust us enough to where they say, look, we're going to put our faith in you. It may not look great for me right now, but I know that if I work hard and I do what I'm supposed to do every day and, you know, that I can develop into something that's going to help our football team. And so you hope that they have that attitude, and most of them do. And those that don't, you wish them the best and try to focus on the guys that you have.
Coach, I was just curious during the offseason. I mean, obviously you're a guy who loves football. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. But your offseason, when you're kind of looking around, do you mostly just watch your own teams? Do you watch other teams? Do you watch kind of what the new trends are? Sort of how do you absorb football and I guess stay continuously learning even though you already know quite a bit?
Yeah, I think you're always trying to learn and stay ahead and you know, find stuff that fits your system. The other thing I try to do is look at teams maybe that are a little challenged as far as personnel goes, but still, you know, put up great numbers. You know, those teams to me are the ones that are a lot more fun to study than some of the other teams that are really, really talented at every position. You know, so you look at a team like Wake Forest, for example, you know, they don't have a lot of guys that are going to be high NFL draft picks or that type of thing, but they always do a great job moving the football. They're very creative. They do things that you know, to keep people off balance and put their players in situations to be really successful. So, you know, we'll look at teams like that. We'll look at some tape in the NFL, some of the teams that match our philosophy a little bit, and see some of the things that they're doing. You know, maybe teams like the 49ers and some of the things they're doing in the run game, and the Rams, you know, with play action passes and boots, that type of thing. And so, you know, we're always trying to look around, trying to improve on what we're doing and you know, get more efficient at doing it. And one of the things that we talk about a lot as well is, you know, how do we practice? Let's try to maximize every single opportunity to get better in practice, make sure we're getting the right amount of work, and make sure we're not overworking our guys, you know, but let's have as physical practices as we can without putting players in harm's way. So, you know, there's always tweaks that you have to make, and we're always, every single day, we're talking about ways to get better, ways to improve our roster, ways to improve, you know, the development of our players, again, strength and conditioning, just all the things, you know, we're constantly tinkering with and making adjustments to fit our players and what we have. So it never really stops. And obviously part of that, the biggest part of that's recruiting, you know, going out and selling our program to young people and getting guys comfortable with us and and our vision for them as players.
Sonny, one more question, if you don't mind. It appeared as if the Big 12 was starting to kind of turn towards more of a conference that was relying on defense, with Matt Campbell at Iowa State, what Dave Aranda is doing at Baylor, even what the person who you succeeded at TCU, or who you replaced at TCU for the longest of time, but not as much recently. Do you see it now flipping back to the days of hair on fire with what you now bring to TCU and Kitley at Texas Tech, among others?
I don't think so. I mean, I think if you look last year, and I think this is pretty common across most conferences. You look at the Big 12 last year, the two best defenses in the league were Baylor and Oklahoma State. And those two teams played in the championship game.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's when you look at the SEC, look at Georgia and Alabama, probably the two best defensive teams in the league. So it just shows you at the end of the day, you got to play defense. You have to have a team that can get stops. You have to have a great defense, in my opinion, to win a championship. I just think you have to. And so, for us, we went out and hired, I think one of the best defensive coordinators in college football, Joe Gillespie.
Mm-hmm.
Played against him 4 years when he was at Tulsa. Love what they do. Love their approach. Again, I felt like he was one of those coaches that got more out of his players than a lot of other people did. And his guys, played a hard-nosed brand of football that's really a testament to his personality and his coaching style. And so really excited about that hire, what he brought to us this spring, what he's going to bring to our program moving forward. I think he's a really smart guy. I love what we do from a scheme standpoint, but just love the way he coaches football. He's a kids first coach, wants to always do what's right for the players, and really love his approach, and I think it's going to pay dividends for us in the future.
Thank you very much, Sonny. Thanks for your time, Coach.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Sonny Dykes, head football coach at TCU, at Coach Sonny Dykes on Twitter. Joe Gillespie, of course, a high school coach in Texas for quite some time, joined Philip Montgomery at Tulsa, and now, as Coach Dykes mentioned, joins him on staff at TCU. They changed from the 4-3 that they used forever to a 3-4. Brian Estridge, voice of TCU, said one of the things they have to wonder is if going to the 3-4, do they have enough oomph, enough beef to hold up against some team trying to pound them with the running game. But overall, he said that, the quarterback competition will just take time to iron itself out, and that's what Coach Dykes said as well.
Okay, this is a great comment and question from Gary Lewis on the chat. I like Dykes. I hope they build just a serviceable defense. Asking you, was Spike Dykes as chill as Sonny is, or different? I would not describe, and I met Coach Dykes well after he was coaching. He was retired. It was Texas Sports Hall of Fame stuff. And I would not describe him as chill. I mean, he was jovial.
You're talking about Spike
Dykes, yeah.
No, I would. He kind of a throwback old coach. He sounded like a coach, looked like a coach. I
mean, he was not. There are coaches who are high strung to a fault. And that was not Spike Dykes at all.
No,
but
he's just good old country boy.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he and Emery Ballard and those guys from the West Texas, very relaxed by comparison to others. And Spike Dykes was just funny. I mean, he was just a really funny guy.
Hell of a high school
jovial.
coach. Then became at Texas Tech. Yeah, he was their Grant Taft for the longest of time at Texas Tech.
Well, I'm interested to see the Big 12 this year. I really am. You can say that any year that you want to, but I mean, in particular, you look at Sonny Dykes there now. He hires Garrett Riley, to run the offense, and then Gillespie with the defense. They got this quarterback decision upcoming. They got some pretty good skill guys, Quentin Johnson and Kendry Miller, and I know they brought some others in. Defense, obviously, it's going to be the first TCU defense sans Gary Patterson, because he was still coaching, last year. We know he was coaching up in Baylor week. We know that for a fact. But, really without Patterson wholesale defensively. So, yeah, they're a unique team that I don't really know where to peg just yet, but I feel kind of that way with Iowa State. They could be much better than last year, surprisingly, even though they lost a lot, Texas could be a big step better. Oklahoma could be better, but then again, all these teams could be worse too. I think it's going to, there's been so many changes coaching wise, and then you throw the transfer portal into it. And it's not just coaches changing, but it's styles changing. And so it's interesting to hear him say that, defense still wins championships and all of that. And I agree with that. I'd rather have Dave Aranda's defense than just about anybody's offense, and Ron Roberts' defense as well. But I do think there's going to be a bit more firepower. I do think that offenses are going to have to be able to score. That goes without saying, but you know what I mean. They're going to have to be able to move the football and put points on the board, and maybe in some games have to match, rather than relying on getting up by 2 scores and being able to,
winning 14-10, those days are pretty much done.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. There's a lot of you who have answered questions we had about some things you thought from what you watched during spring drills, and also, of course, college football. Some of you reacting to the segment with TCU and Sonny Dykes on our questions about the Big 12. First of all, thanks to Mark Cohen at TCU for setting that up with us with Sonny Dykes. When we come back, we'll read the chat room and what you have. We have Mack Rhoades today just after 4:20, Baylor Athletic Director. And then again, D'Antoine Grimes, the latest commitment for Baylor men's basketball at just after 5 o'clock as well. We'll do that. Read your chat on college football. What are some of the storylines that intrigued you or caught your attention the most during spring as it starts to wrap up? Sick'em 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Marco's Pizza, fastest growing pizza chain around the world, around the country. And 5 locations. It used to be 1. So that's how you kind of go from just starting out 30 years ago or so to now over 1,000 Marco's Pizza restaurants, and 5 of them in Waco. The newest one in Hewitt. There's also one in Woodway, China Spring, Belmead. And just recently, at the end of last year, they opened up the one in Robinson with owner Bob Mock. Pepperoni Magnifico. Enjoy a large Pepperoni Magnifico, $9.99. Use the code PEPMAG if you order online. And you can order online. You can pick up the phone and call them as well. And that's what we normally do. We've done both with their pizzas being delivered to the studio. Unlimited large 2-topping pizzas, $8.99 each. Use the code HOT and the number 2 to go. Hot to go. Also, $3 off large specialty pizzas. Order now. Use special 3. And unlimited medium 1-topping pizzas for $7.99 each. And you can order that now. Order, call in, and you can also go pick it up if you want. Download the app and get 25% off your first menu price order. And they have more than pizza. They have chicken, salad, wings, salad, sandwiches, and also soft drinks. Pizza lovers get it. Marcos.com.
Cars priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online, pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T is board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
All right, some of the chat room discussion. Joey, early on, I'm sorry I can't buy into ISU right now. They should have had a better team than they did last year, and a lot of them are gone. I think that they will struggle. And like we were discussing, we really don't know. You know, have they built the program like you hope with Matt Campbell, where no matter who is there, you are still good, which is what Matt Rhule started to do at Baylor, what Dave Aranda's hoping, and, of course, even schools that have had bigger names. That's what Sarkisian, if they give him time, hopes to be able to do. And, of course, they're also adding and changing 40% of their roster.
Yeah, and there's a lot to replace. There's no doubt about that. But I'm kind of coming from a standpoint of interest where they are at a point now where they're reloading, not rebuilding, or they're very close to that. They should be really at that point. So, yes, you lose a Breece Hall and you lose a Brock Purdy, but that also means there might be and now Breece Hall, to think that there's going to be somebody better than him, that's hard to imagine. But, you know, you could have a better quarterback. Brock Purdy wasn't perfect. You could have a better quarterback. You could have a better this or a better that. I think the difference between this year and last year is that last year there were expectations, whether Matt Campbell wanted to acknowledge those or not. There very clearly were when you had that many seniors coming back. So I think it was kind of silly on his part to sort of downplay that and pass it off as fan expectations. It's like, no, dude, change the logo, put the roster on there, and everybody's going to think that team should be really good that year if they've got all these guys coming back. It doesn't matter that it's Iowa State or whoever it could have been. That's what everybody was basing it off of. So now, though, everybody's going to expect them to not be as good because they lost those guys, and that's where I'm not sitting there expecting them to win the Big 12 or win 10 games. But if you were thinking that they're going to go back to like 7, 8 wins, I think they maybe could win, go crazy and win 9. I know that's going a little crazy, but I'm just saying, like, they could surpass expectations in almost the opposite fashion of last year.
Sometimes you can hyperventilate over expectations. And I really think that might have – that plus the fact that Oklahoma State and Baylor were really, really good last year. I believe, did Iowa State beat Oklahoma State? I believe that's one of the teams that they may have lost to. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know somebody will. But, this year, you're still going to have those who vote for Oklahoma and Texas because they always do. And you're going to now have that decision with Baylor and Oklahoma State because they earned it. And then you have Iowa State. And you wonder, where are they compared to last year when you most likely thought, okay, Oklahoma won, Iowa State too?
Yeah, I don't think the Iowa State's probably not going to get a vote unless somebody really feels optimistic about them.
Yeah, so, they really shouldn't.
Yeah, they're not. Should. I mean, there's not, which is probably, what they want, especially given the fact that
Baylor didn't get any first place votes last year, and they were like 7 or 8 in the conference.
But they didn't deserve them.
They didn't deserve them.
They didn't.
And so that.
But Iowa State did beat Oklahoma. I couldn't remember, but they did beat them 24-21. Their losses last year were Iowa, which that would be a good way to kind of, change things up early on. Then Baylor in week 4, so they were 2-2 right out of the gates. And then they went on a little win streak, beat the Kansas schools and OSU. But then they beat Oklahoma State, and they turn around and lose to West Virginia.
Yeah.
And that's just a loss that, all due respect to the Mountaineers, but last year that shouldn't have happened. And then, beat the mess out of Texas. And then lost to Tech, 41-38, lost to Oklahoma, 28-21. Both those were road games.
Was the Tech game the 80-yard field goal with a win? I think it was.
Yeah, and then TCU, they beat the mess out of them to close the year. So, and then lost to Clemson in that pretty exciting bowl game. So, yeah, I mean, there's a couple games there they probably shouldn't have dropped for sure. But I think they're going to be solidly in that, 8-ish wins. And then, if you were to do an over-under, I think you could put it at 7.5. Right, and then let people go from there on what they think. I think that would be probably the most interesting number. I'm not a Vegas guy by any means, but 7.5 seems like it would be a fair mark given what they've got questions-wise as far as, are they going to be a team that gets bowl eligible and that's kind of just an average year, or are they a team that maybe surpasses expectations?
If they surpass expectations, that would be a nice sign, but you still have to look at really Iowa State's history in college football. No matter what. Here's a note, if you saw this or not, we got to take a break for the top of the hour. Dave Wilson, ESPN. Bob Stoops today was at the state's House of Representatives. Are you going to do this on Off the Radar?
No, go ahead. No, I'm not going to. I'm so sick of this whole thing, this whole angle with Oklahoma right now.
So Bob Stoops, was at the House of Representatives. He was receiving an honor, celebrating a career of service to the Oklahoma community, success with the OU football program. And he was, of course, asked about the coaching change with Brent Venables and how he had handed the keys to Oklahoma's history to Lincoln Riley. And his comment was, Lincoln Riley didn't invent OU football. He didn't invent OU football, and then, of course, talked about Brent Venables, a major part of Oklahoma's national championship team in 2000 and what he did at OU for 13 years, Clemson for what he did there. And you're right. Eventually start playing the games and stop all the chatter, but that might go on for a while.
I love Bob Stoops. There's not too many things that he could do that I'm going to sit there and get upset about. And I'm not upset about this either, but I am just kind of getting annoyed at this point by the constant Lincoln Riley mentions. It's like you cannot let him go. You can't let him go. He wrote his Players Tribune article way late after the fact, mind you. Should have written it about 3.5 months ago. We can all agree on that. But, he's gone. He's not coming back. He's not walking back through that door. He's not going to send you that late-night text. It's over. It's over, and I know we are over it. We got Brent, but then stop talking about him. You know what I mean? I
don't know if he was asked about the change. And
it's not just Bob Stoops' comments, though. Go look at Oklahoma Twitter, and you're going to see Lincoln Riley mentions out the wazoo, and I get it to an extent, but I do think a lot of this is that they're just not used to it. They are not used to change. They are not used to somebody saying no to them and leaving them like that. They're used to a guy sticking around until he basically retires, like Bob Stoops did.
Or if he's
went to
bad,
the NFL like Chuck Fairbanks.
Or if he's bad, then they get to run him out.
They get to run him out.
John Blake, Howard Schnellenberger.
And I get that was in the dark of night, and then Baylor kicks their ass, and so there's extra feelings that week, especially when all that went down. But it's Oklahoma football, and Bob Stoops is absolutely right. It is bigger than Lincoln Riley. It was bigger than Bob Stoops. It was bigger than Barry Switzer, Bud Wilkinson, Bob Stoops, Barry Switzer. They've had plenty of coaches that have had success, played for or won national titles, and Brent Venables might be next in line. And I think that'd make for a great story given his history at Oklahoma. But yeah, they got to let the Lincoln Riley thing go at this point. Just move on, and both sides stop talking about each other and just go about your business. But it has created a fun little online rivalry.
I don't know if Lincoln Riley has said much about OU, although again, the Players Tribune, you're right, that he wrote the long thing, and to me that could have gone without being written. And there's going to be go win some games, go start the season. If they start well, people will still then go, see, we can win without him. If they don't, then hey. Oklahoma, can they win without Lincoln Riley? Nobody is bigger than the program, no matter what, although some coaches surely have had more success than others.
I bet you a lot of people thought nobody's bigger than Bear Bryant.
No.
And look at Nick Saban right now, you know? So, yeah, I mean, Oklahoma football is Oklahoma football. Regardless of who the head coach is, they'll be just fine.
When we come back, we'll get into more of what you've said on chat about the spring football and college football in general. Mack Rhoades joins us today at 4:20. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, they're building a massive facility, bigger, better, faster, stronger, and that's hard to imagine because they have been amazing. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with pipe, steel, and metal, customer service and satisfaction. Product since 1943. That by itself, I could just say that and step off to the other side and let on to another commercial. But let's discuss it. 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe opened up. 2 locations, Waco and Bryant, and now they're building a bigger structure, nicer facility, which only allows them to be even better than what they've been, which is because of technology and efficiency and, of course, distribution that they can get bigger. They can deliver pipe, steel, and metal, whether it's a real estate, commercial, construction, whatever it might be, they do it. That's what they do, and they back it up with customer service. And people don't go buy one thing or one time there. They go back and they go back and back. And that's how you stay in business for 80 years. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, 2 locations, Waco and Bryan, pioneerboys.com.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. Cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue.
It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's Tasty Oak Smoked Barbecue.
Next in line.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions. fast friendships, and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
19-year-old true freshman quarterback stepping in for the injured Matt Corral, and then being brought down. Bryson Jackson with the sack and the turnover on downs.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
D'Antoine Grimes, Kilgore College guard, point guard, will join us a little after 5 o'clock today. Jalen Bridges, of course, was last week, West Virginia, and then we had Caleb Lohner from Brigham Young join us yesterday. Those have been added to the Baylor roster. It's been some transition, attrition, and addition. And we're now joined by Ashley Hodge, very much in tune to what's happening with Baylor men's basketball. Ashley, let me ask you this, and I guess it goes down to this. Where they are right now on the roster, Adam Flagler is on the roster even though he's at least going to put his toes in the water. If he wants to come back, I'm sure there's an open door. Is there an open door for Matthew Meyer?
Well, it's a different world. First of all, good to be on. Enjoy the show. Love what you guys are doing. You guys are on top of all these new transfers, and I love listening to it myself. But it's a different world with NIL because technically you can go over the scholarship limit. You would have to structure an NIL deal for the player that you go over the scholarship limit so that they could afford the tuition at the school that they're in. But that does make it interesting. But the spirit of your question, I don't think there's a spot. I think this is a clear indication that, hopefully Matt's going to stay in the NBA draft and be able to, get a two-way deal or even get drafted in the second round. And this would be the end of his college career. I know that was his intention. There's been some rumblings that he might transfer. So we'll have to watch the transfer portal the next couple of days to see if he puts his name in to still have an opportunity to come back to college. But I don't think it's going to be at Baylor if he does that.
Well, Ashley, that would be very telling because he only has a couple days to do it. So if he doesn't do it before May 1st, then we know what his intentions are. And my thought yesterday on Matthew Meyer was this is a really good coaching staff that's taken him a long way. And maybe it's time for him to jump into pro basketball, which he is capable of being a professional basketball player. And at whatever level that is, they can fix whatever is and make him that complete player that he never quite was at Baylor.
Yeah, it is interesting now with these two-way deals because NBA rosters can expand, up to like 17 players, I believe it is. So every NBA team is taking two more guys, and these two-way contracts, you're getting paid $275,000. I mentioned this on a podcast I did with Kendall Cowell, but you got guys like Lindy Waters that are have a roster spot. You got Mac McClung, you got Hillbilly Kobe over at the Los Angeles Lakers, Austin Reeves. I mean, you got a lot of guys that you wouldn't have thought would stick to an NBA roster that are finding a spot. So I think that really bodes well for Matt Meyer and James Akinjo. I could totally see those guys getting two-way deals. And if Maceo gets healthy, I think he could also get a two-way deal at some point. He had a pretty injury-plagued season this past year. But the bottom line is there's more opportunities for guys that can play. And I think that Matt and James have a pretty good shot of making that a reality.
So, Ashley, a lot of transfers to talk about. It's been quite the run the last few days. Let's go ahead and start off with Jalen Bridges coming over, staying within the Big 12, but jumping over from Morgantown. What are your thoughts on his commitment last week?
Well, I love the way this roster has developed. First of all, I like that Baylor will have some certainty as to what the roster is going to look like on June 1st, and they can just get to work and start preparing for the season with all hands on deck. Now you're going to have, I think LJ Cryer might not be until July 1st before he's full speed. And, certainly Adam Flagler, I think the decision to come back is a June 1st decision. But those guys, like having them work together during the summer. But I'll mention this. This was told to me by someone, and rings true. Jalen Bridges and Caleb Lohner both were coached by guys that are known for being pretty hard on their players. So I think, they're going to come into Baylor, and Scott Drew may be a real breath of fresh air, just the positive reinforcement. And it might also inject new life into the other guys on the team that, these guys may be telling them, man, you don't realize how great your coach is and how positive he is, and give appreciation for everyone that stayed. But I think Jalen gives you, your 3-and-D, Kendall Brown type of player, but he also is a more consistent 3-point shooter. I'm very excited about that addition, and I think Caleb Lohner brings a whole different dynamic. He gives you that Ish Wainwright, Royce O'Neal, Mark Vital glue guy that's going to do all the dirty work, do a lot of rebounding. Some of the things that Jonathan would have done if he was healthy. But Caleb, I think, is now that guy that's going to fill that role.
How much does that help take a little bit of the load off of Flo Thamba physically inside?
Is big time, and vice versa. Like if you were playing Caleb at the center, like he played a lot of that for BYU, and that's physically exhausting and really, affects his game at all levels when you're having to play the biggest guy and fight those battles inside. And when you got a warrior like Flo to do a lot of that for you, then, it's going to help Caleb, and Caleb's going to help Flo, because Caleb is a phenomenal rebounder. Like his rebound rate per minute is one of the best in the country. And I think he's going to take a lot of pressure off of Flo in the rebounding department as well. It's a very well-constructed roster, a lot of flexibility. I think you're going to see most of the scoring come from the backcourt. You got 4 guys there that I think could average over 12 points a game, and Flagler, Cryer, Keontae George, and Langston Love. But ultimately, you win games by having guys that are stars in their roles, and certainly Jalen Bridges, Caleb Lohner, and Flo Thamba are 3 guys they're probably going to rely heavily on.
So Flagler, where do you think right now, if you read most draft analysts, they had nothing about him in the draft beforehand, and now here he is, testing it. Do you think he does, in fact, come back because he just needs to see where he is and where he needs to get better for next year's NBA draft?
I do. I think it's going to be helpful for him in a lot of areas, to go through this process. But ultimately, I think he's going to have to display an ability to be a full-time point guard. I mean, that's what the NBA wants to see. And that's where the opportunity is, I think, for him this year. And I think he's going to excel at that. I really am excited about his ability to excel as the point guard in this offense. He is terrific, reading ball screens and being able to get to that elbow and knock down jumpers. And he's displayed, as the season went along, just a great ability to read coverages and get to the rim for easy, layups at the rim. And he's a great shooter. I think when he's fully healthy, he'll display, that 40% plus 3-point ability that he did, 2 years ago on the national championship team. And I just think that having as many options in the backcourt to score that Baylor will have this year with Cryer and Love and Keontae George and Dale Bonner and D'Antoine Grimes, I think that's going to really take a lot of pressure off of Flagler to be, the guy that carries the load scoring wise. And I think it's going to lead to better shot attempts for everybody.
So Ashley, how on the radar, on your radar, was D'Antoine Grimes out of Kilgore College before last night?
Well, I had a little birdie tell me about him a couple weeks ago. So I knew about him, but and I'm excited. I love guys. When you talk to him, I think here in a little bit, you're going to sense that he's a no entitlement guy. He's got a humility and a mindset to work. And, he just kind of reminds me of that Davion, that Kenny Cherry, so many guys that have come through Baylor, Royce O'Neal, Torian Prince, that were unheralded, that turned out to be terrific players. You got 3 years of eligibility. He's got a burst to him. He's got a nice step back. He's athletic. He's strong. He's tough. I'm expecting, some noise from him in the future. Maybe not next year, but certainly as you look down the road, I think he's going to be a great player for Baylor.
So when you look at, you mentioned most of the points are going to come from the guards, and then you look at the guards and with Flagler and the decision he has to make, but Flagler, Cryer, George, Langston Love, who we didn't get a chance to watch because of well, because of the injury. These guys can, and Bonner, who I thought grew up dramatically during the year as well. So the Flagler thing, is this very similar to what Butler and Davion did? I mean, Butler and Maceo did a couple of years ago, in your opinion, with Adam?
Yeah, different dynamic because when Butler and Maceo tested the waters, they didn't have, we're still in that COVID freak out phase where there weren't like the combines and a lot of the activity that you would normally have, like Adam will have this year, wasn't available to them. But I do think I'm expecting kind of a similar outcome. I think that it's possible that a team falls in love with Flagler and wants to draft him and gives him a guarantee. That's not outside the realm of possibility. But I think the likely scenario is he comes back, he shows that he is a reliable, everyday point guard and can really help his draft stock for next year. And, I mean, you see guys that are sticking in the league these days, Chris Duarte, who played, his 4-year guy, and you see guys like Van Vliet, and, there's plenty of examples of 4-year guys that just Buddy Hield, that just got better every year in college and were able to eventually catapult that to, being able to stick on an NBA roster and make the big money. So I hope that's the outcome for Flagler. He's such a great guy and such a steady, guy from a character standpoint that I think he deserves that shot, but I think he would be better off waiting until next year.
Ashley, obviously some folks around the Big 12, around the country, follow college basketball or paid attention to the recent moves made by Baylor. Has there been anything else around the Big 12, or even if you want to go farther out just nationally, since Baylor's in that conversation, that's kind of made you raise your eyebrows like, oh, okay, that's interesting?
Well, I mean, I think you got to look at some of the stuff that's happening with NIL. There's Oscar Shibwe supposedly got $2 million to stay at Kentucky. That's incredible money. Nigel Pack, a guy that played on losing teams, good player, but never won. At the Big 12 level, gets $800,000 to go to Miami for 2 years. I think that some of these numbers NIL wise are pretty eye popping. I've heard Arkansas doling out $400,000 or $500,000 per player. Texas Tech, a couple $100,000 per transfer. I don't know where this madness is going, but I do like that Baylor seems to be focusing on the right things, and listen, let's not take shortcuts to get to the ultimate goal here to help get you in the NBA, and let's not look at trying to get a short term $200,000 and foregoing possibly 20-30 million in the process. So I think the guys at Baylor seem to be focused on the right things, and not that this NIL arms race isn't going to matter and that it's not going to play an impact in some recruitments, but to my knowledge, it really isn't playing much of an impact in the guys that are joining the Baylor roster or continuing to play for Baylor. They seem to be focused more on the bigger goal at the end.
Ashley, thank you. Appreciate your time and kind of helping break down Baylor's roster with the additions of Bridges, Lohner, and now, of course, with D'Antoine Grimes, who we'll talk to today in an hour or so. Coming up next, Baylor Director of Athletics, Mack Rhoades, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans, I was there a couple of days ago. It wasn't a couple of days ago. It had been at the end of last week. Went by there to get what is it's a humidifier for your humidor, which is, of course, where you try to keep your cigars and keep them where they're nice and fresh when you smoke one of them. In fact, I gave Jack McKenzie a little bit of sleeve of 3 of them earlier this week, and all 3 of them were after I put a brand new humidor pouch inside of where all the cigars are. I love smoking a cigar when I'm playing a round of golf whenever I can, whether it's an Ashton or possibly a Monte Cristo, Arturo Fuente, Romeo and Julieta, or even Rocky Patel Torpedo Edge Light. Right now, inside their 48-foot walk-in humidor, the number 1 cigar of the year, Padron 1964 Natural Torpedo. They have them. Ashley was telling me about them. Cheyenne was there as well. And, of course, Carol is also a part of it, the owner of Don Chumador. They have CBD products, and some of them on sale right now. Don Chumador and Coffee Beans in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the city of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. And you're about to approach this time of the year where you have the holidays, special gifts. It's not that you don't have that every single day. What are some of the things you have coming up?
You know, we kind of call ourselves the wedding ring store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves, probably 9 out of 10 every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics Mack Rhoades is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Baylor Director of Athletics Mack Rhoades with us. David Smoak, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, Sikkim 365 Radio. Armstrong Sims runs the mothership. Mac, thank you. Did I hear you in the Dave Aranda post-spring game media session when he made a comment about we have some guys that are kind of jovial, unlike me? Did I hear you kind of snicker or giggle?
Kind of like that?
Yes.
Probably. Yes, probably. I think that, quite an accurate statement by Coach Aranda.
How many times when he does a media session or when you are listening to him or talking to him, and I know you guys visit a lot, does he say something where you have to almost wish you could replay it and go back and listen to it again?
Yeah, it's more often than you'd think, just given, the many conversations him and I have. But I appreciate just how genuine he is and transparent with the media at those post game press conferences, and I just appreciate his transparency. I think in general with the media, we, for example, spring practice, we had media out there 14 of the 15 practices, and he's a leader that has nothing to hide, and he'll let like on the quarterback question that whether or not he feels like he can address it at that point in time and in front of all of you. So I just appreciate him in general and the way he handles all of that.
Mack, there was the alumni cookout barbecue competition that they had in Touchdown Alley, and I know that obviously you always want more fans than almost come to anything unless you're completely sold out. How do you feel like you're progressing on making spring football an event, and does that maybe hinge on keeping the same staff there in place that can kind of build what they want spring football to be for a while?
Yeah, I thought this past spring game was really a great step, a big step in the right direction, and proud of our staff, our fan engagement, our marketing communication staff. They worked hard. Appreciate the football staff. They worked hard. The B Association worked hard. The connection with the former players. You mentioned the cook-off. Coach Aranda and Dennis Polian, went out and visited with each tent and spent, time and in conversation with everyone. And so, I think it's a good building block for years to come. Obviously, people are more excited when you win and coming off 12 wins, but we can grow it, and it can certainly be bigger and better in the future. But really liked what I saw, this time around, and on the sideline we had a lot of former players, and I know that they were grateful to be included in the way they were this past year, and again I think it's a good step in the right direction.
So I guess you kind of partially answered it there, but just how do you kind of feel where the program is now that spring ball has wound down and now it's, I guess, a bit of a hibernation. I know they're going to still be working a whole lot behind the scenes, but kind of a hibernation for fans as far as news goes. How do you feel about the position your football program's in defending their championship?
Yeah, I mean, I feel good, but you're always restless. Coach talked about we've got a younger team. I think this period of time right now from this moment up through the start of fall camp is really going to determine how good of a football team we're gonna have. The work, out of the spotlight, the work in the weight room, the work in finishing up the spring semester academically, the work in summer school, all of those little details, little details make big things happen. And so I think, this period of time that we just entered into is really going to be, I think, a defining moment for this team. And again, I think it's a collection of just quality young men. Not saying they're perfect, but want to do the right thing and want to play for one another. And so I think there's really good culture within the program, and the coaches are on the same page. And so, programs in a really good place, but again, I think we all know and understand that there's so much work to be done, and you always have to have your foot on the gas pedal.
Mack, where are you right now in evaluating? And I know you won't discuss personnel decisions or whatever, but baseball program is struggling. They had a horrible thing happen with Tyler Thomas and his Tommy John. Will Rigney's out for right now as well. They're playing, in fact, this afternoon. But they had a really, really bad weekend at Austin, and UT has themselves been struggling. How are those conversations, or at least your thoughts about Steve Rodriguez and Baylor baseball?
I think, my job right now, along with Chad Jackson, who's the sport program administration, is to really encourage Coach Rodriguez and the staff and our young men. And, I know this. I know that there's no finger pointing going on in the clubhouse. That there's still a lot of fight in the program and our young men, and still competing really, really, really hard. You said it best. This weekend particularly was a tough weekend. I don't think anybody's happy with, including Coach Rodriguez. Starting with Coach Rodriguez, that we're 4-11 in Big 12 play, but he's continuing to coach our kids the very best way that he knows how. I've got great confidence in Coach Rodriguez and that staff. We have a big weekend coming up, hosting Texas Tech, and we've got some different things going on. Friday night fireworks, and on Saturday we'll be honoring the 10th anniversary of the 2012 Big 12 championship team, and so former members will be in attendance, and we've got giveaways going on, whether it's stuffed beavers or it's a Go Gold hat on Saturday. So this is an opportunity for our baseball program to rebound and play hard. And again, I think that it's a team that's very much still together, and we're dealing with some hardship. We're dealing with some hardship of injuries, and a roster that needs to mature.
Mack Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor, with this Sikkim 365 Radio.
How was celebrating that Big 12 tournament championship for men's tennis?
Yeah, that was awesome. I'm so happy for Coach Woodson, and he did such a great job last year in that interim role, and that's always difficult. I think it's difficult for the team in terms of can we count on this coach being here permanently. I think it's difficult for that individual, for Coach Woodson personally. What is my future, and he handled last year exceptionally well, and then obviously this year has done as good or maybe even a better job. And to be at TCU, in TCU's venue, they're ranked 1, we're ranked 4th, we're the number 2 seed, they're the number 1 seed. To be able to beat them at their place, I just think is really, really special. And that's the third straight now Big 12 championship for our men's tennis program. And so just again proud of Coach Woodson and the staff and our young men.
Mack, there's never a time when we probably can't bring up the transfer portal, NIL, or whatever. But on the transfer portal, what is the discussion among ADs, presidents, whoever, about really how it's supposed to work? I know there is a deadline coming up Sunday where an athlete has to be inside the transfer portal to be able to transfer. After that, if someone transfers, then they get a waiver, and most likely, I don't know what the chances are that gets cleared. Is that deadline, I know it's early on and it's still something new, is that deadline, you think, going to work?
That's a great question. And I think that, I think it becomes artificial in a sense if we're going to continue to grant waivers at the rate at which we're granting waivers. Now, let me be really, really transparent. We've been a benefactor of those waivers. And
sure.
So, but what does the deadline really, really mean if we continue to grant those waivers? I think the other thing too is, a lot of conversation right now, and you all talked about it before about, transfer portal windows, and it not being open continuously like it is. And how does that impact, the rate at which people are transferring, right now, the first year of the transfer portal, it was about an average of 7 young men transferred out. That has grown to 12. And let me be a little bit more specific. That's an average of 12 per FBS football program. So nationally, when you think about the 120 plus, I don't know if it's 129. I can never remember the exact number. So do transfer portal windows, do they curb that? I don't know. I think that the cross section of name, image, and likeness in the transfer portal has not been good for college athletics. I think most of us would agree with that. It's not what it was intended to be. It's probably less with football, but more with men's basketball out of control. When we think about, the dynamic of those two together and, thinking about, reading about, what happened at the University of Miami with a transfer in Nigel Pack. And, how do you even navigate that? How do you explain that? You have an individual on that team that's a great player that was there for them to get to the Elite Eight, and now they're not maybe getting what that all of a sudden new player transfer coming in is, and so there's just there's a lot going on, and it's not sustainable in my opinion, and we're gonna have to figure this out over the next 12 months, and you're not going to be able to put the genie completely back in the bottle. The transfer portal is going to remain, and name, image, and likeness is going to remain. But we've got to find a better balance, and we all keep saying, well, the market will self-correct, and I think there's some truth to that. But I think the NCAA, we're going to have to be intentional about self-correcting some of it as well.
Mack, that kind of leads into the comments from Jack Swarbrick from a few days ago, predicting a split of some sort within the next decade of college athletics, and even going so far as to say, there would be a base of schools that still are basically college athletics programs where education and the school itself is tied in, and then there would be this other group where it's basically like renting the license to the logo and the name, and they're just basically a pro team. I was just curious what your thoughts were on Swarbrick's comments and you just kind of that area of discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I think as we're all sitting in the seats that we're sitting in, and we're watching things play out, and we've got the transformation committee in process, and we're trying to figure out whether or not, federal legislation is going to happen, and that there'll be some protection there in terms of antitrust law, all of that. I think that's where your mind can go, is that there's going to be this separation. I don't think that will be good for college athletics. You think about, the sport of football, college football, and just the impact it has across this country. the Saturdays, the pageantry, the number of games, the way it galvanizes our communities, brings people together. It's not just a game. It's really a celebration, on Saturdays throughout this country. And if we get to a point and place in time where, and this is my personal opinion, obviously, but if we get to a point and place in time where there's only 15 to 20 to 25 of those football games that really matter anymore, I don't think that's good for the sport of football, and I personally don't think it's good for our country and how we think about the future and what it means and how it brings people together. And so, I certainly get and I have great respect for Jack and his thought process and his opinion and I'm hoping that's not where it heads.
I don't think there's any doubt, and I know probably need to ask you, but if everybody was raising their hands on, hey, we'd be interested in basically being a semi-pro team, or hey, we want to stick to college athletics, you are firmly in that college athletics camp, because, I think you just said it, that other stuff that maybe people neglect for the money thing, that all matters in the process of just, helping raise human beings, right?
Yeah, I'm again, this is not, saying that I've got it right or, sure. I'm thinking about it, better than anybody else, but I'm in the business of impacting young people and developing young people. And I think if you ask Dave Aranda that question, he would answer it the same way. And I think Scott Drew would, and I think Nikki Collingwood and Steve Rodriguez and Glenn Moore and Michael Woodson and Joey Scrivano and Mike Ford. Just on down the line, Casey Mack. And I think that's what makes Baylor special. And I think that's why we have the culture that we have. And so that's what we're going to continue to do. And I do really believe this. I think there's going to be a relevant place in the future college athletics for us to continue to do what we do.
Mack, I know the Big 12 has come up with a search committee. Do you know any idea? Will the timeline be before Big 12 Media Days, you think, at the end of July, that they'll name somebody?
I do. Now, again, searches have ebbs and flows and they're a journey. But, when you think about mid-July, I would certainly anticipate that we'll have named somebody by then.
Thank you very much. Mack Rhoades, Baylor, right. Yes, sir. Baylor Director of Athletics at Sikkim 365 Radio. I could have followed up by saying, have they contacted you yet? But then that would have ended, like one of those Chan Gailey, that's an ender.
Yeah. I could keep asking him questions all day just as far as the current landscape of college athletics and,
sure.
Everything there. But, yeah, I think he kind of hit on pretty much everything that's going on at the moment. But those were very interesting comments from Swarbrick. And, I just don't know what the desire really would be for the institutions that feel like they're going to be able to function properly if they just basically rent out a logo. Because to me, the NFL is the NFL, and we see league after league after league trying to duplicate it. Now, college football is on a step above the XFL or the USFL or AAF or whatever because they do have history. It's there. Everybody knows about it. But, so much of the passion is tied to the school itself, not the team. Although you do have your casual fans or whatever. I don't know. I think college football minus the college part may be able to work better than some of these semi-pro leagues. I don't know that there's really a lot of schools that are interested in that. I guess we'll find that out over the coming years, but I don't know. I have my doubts.
I don't know if a lot of the schools that would have to go with the ones or that would be
could go
with the ones really would want that if you ask them.
Notre Dame.
They going
to get rid of academics? I don't think so.
No. Yeah, everybody wants money. That's but at what cost? And then how much is enough? Where it's look, everything's before you completely compromise what you're doing and move on in a direction where you better be careful what you ask for, because you have something that's really good right now.
Yes.
You have something that's really good, except for one thing. And I think that's where people mess up. They think that college football fans are mad and they want a complete overhaul. No. All we want is a playoff that makes some GD sense.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
One thing. One thing.
And it's just amazing that they can't figure that out. Power plays, politics, whatever.
Yeah.
Protecting your own, of course, your conference, which you should.
And here's my thing, too, and I've said this before, if there was to be like this offshoot or whatever, like there would be some interesting decisions. Like, Notre Dame, like we just said, with the academic side of it, they're not going to leave that behind anytime soon. You go ahead and throw Stanford in there. Go ahead, you could throw UCLA, a bunch of other schools as well that would be more on the side of remaining more of a college football team versus a football team that uses the college's logo and names and all that. And it's kind of like this idea of the Super League is, somebody's got to be Vandy other than Vandy. Not everybody's going to go 10-2. Like somebody's going to not be what they were at one point in time. And, that's the fear with Texas and Oklahoma leading into the SEC to some extent. But that would, somebody's got to be the Browns. Somebody's got to be the Jaguars. And it doesn't matter how much NIL money you spend, somebody's going to have to lose the majority of games. So, you might be one of those people. It's like, let's get Tennessee in this, elite 32 team, and then Tennessee ends up being the Cincinnati Bengals from years ago.
Or maybe how they've been really for a long time.
Exactly. And so, be careful what you wish for in that regard. But I think, too, what it also does is, it's going to be exciting for Texas and Oklahoma fans, or it's exciting for any college football fan when Auburn plays Oregon, or, USC plays Notre Dame or whatever. But, like, if you branch off, those just become regular games week in and week out. And, yes, your normal rivalry, Michigan or Notre Dame, will still be that special rivalry every year. But the shine of playing Auburn on a regular basis or whatever that's not your main rivals, like, they just become another team, basically. It's not like the big non-con game. It's just your week 3 game.
Compared to the NFL, if you're a Steelers fan, even though you don't play the Colts every year, do you really get all excited about playing the Colts? That's what it's going to be. I mean, like, oh, cool.
They're not going to have a league that is the ultimate at the top level without a Notre Dame involved.
Right.
So they're going to have to come to some sort of, there will be some give and take, there will be some negotiations, but they're not going to go break off with just 24 teams or so. 32, we've heard that number. 64, we've heard that number. There are so many things to get to.
But the point being is like Craig's point is, yeah, you might get excited about that scheduling eventually at first, but eventually it's just the same thing again. And, while you might get to play a team, like if you do an NFL type schedule where every, 8 years you play a team you haven't played in a while, then, oh, cool. But is it that great?
One of the things you like when you're a big boy, blue blood, and you have all the money in the world is the fact that you get to be a bully on occasion. Mm-hmm. When you do that upper echelon thing, that's not insured. That's not guaranteed. Craig's got off the radar coming up next. Also, we will hear from D'Antoine Grimes. He's the one who signed with or committed to Baylor last night from Kilgore College. A little after 5:10, then Hall of Famer John McClain Sikkim, 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. They are the people you can count on, as always, over at Richard Carr. Been in business for over 20 years now at this point, and they are all about the customer service, but they're also all about getting you into a new vehicle today. They've got new cars and trucks that are arriving weekly. You can go by the dealership or go online to richardcar.com to see their current inventory and see all those GMC, Buick, and Cadillac models that are not only arrived, but also the ones that are en route. And if you are eyeing one of those that's en route, or you are eyeing a car that's not on the lot, you are eyeing a brand new car, well, then make sure when you talk to Richard Carr, you get your name on that inbound vehicle list, and you could get your car before anybody else. But if you don't have time to wait, you need a vehicle right away, then they want you to consider their dozens of quality pre-owned cars and trucks. Save a little money while doing so. All of their pre-owned vehicles go through a 172-point inspection so you can drive them with peace of mind, and they pay top dollar on your trade with dozens of lending options. They say yes to loans when others say no. So they're loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks. Those have all been checked out, are good to go right off the lot. You can call them and get in line for those right now, or get in line and sign up that inbound vehicle list to make sure that when the new cars and trucks arrive, you are first come, first serve on that as well. Trust the good local people you can count on for 23 years in Central Texas. Proud Wacoans, proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome into Off the Radar. Taking a look at a grab bag of stories from around the sports world, both on and off the fields of play. And I want to go back to last night, first of all, and say, let's go Mavs.
Yep.
And Luka Doncic is an absolute freak show.
Yeah.
I mean, that was quite the display last night. I don't know who all was watching, but man, I know there's a lot of people, they don't watch the NBA or whatever, but plenty of people do, and I sure as hell was one of them last night. That was a special showing by Luka Doncic, and look out now. The Mavs are one game away from eliminating the Jazz, and quite frankly, if Luka's playing like that, I'm not saying they're going to go win a championship at the end of this thing, but they are mighty, mighty dangerous, and man, he looked good. He's just so special, and I could not have imagined as a Mavericks fan that there would ever be anybody that could follow up Dirk Nowitzki. And I'm not trying to get too crazy, but they got a kid who probably is going to follow up Dirk Nowitzki, man. Well, and it's amazing that he's barely even in his 20s at this point.
Well, he's because Jalen Brunson carries that team. Yeah, Luka's a bit player, right?
Yeah. No, Jalen Brunson deserves a lot of accolades too.
He's making some
about
money.
To get a bunch of money. There was a story earlier today about how the Mavs had a chance to sign him to a $55 million extension at one point, and they decided against it. And now, you can put a 1 in front of that 55, and I don't know what his future holds other than he's going to get paid.
I hope the Mavericks pay him. Even as a person who's not a Mavericks fan, I'm tired of seeing the Mavericks get used in free agency. So I'd like to, if they at least get used in free agency, it should be by a guy who's helped them do something in Jalen Brunson. And I think if Brunson Doncic is something you can really build around going forward. Doncic Brunson is something you can build around going forward. And with I don't want to say the era of the super team is over, but it's not looking great.
No,
right
you're starting to see some of those. It didn't work for the Nets. It almost did. It may be a toe away from a 3-pointer by Durant. You never know. But that blew up with Kyrie and Kevin Durant and James Harden. They got swept by the Celtics just last night.
James Harden, and he's on the 76ers, but the Nets did. And they're regrouping now, I'm sure, and we'll go, make some big moves and sign another name, and we'll see if it matters. But, I don't even, the Nets, I don't even think of KD and all of that anymore. I just think of Ben Simmons, and it makes me laugh because, man, what a story that is. Ben Simmons still not having played, and the season's now over. So there's been a lot of fun on social media over him and, just not playing basketball despite getting paid millions and millions of dollars to play basketball. But that was just a great win by the Mavs last night. They're now up 3-2. And later on tonight, you'll have the Hawks and the Miami Heat. The Heat can close that one out. They're up 3-1. That starts at 6 Central. You'll get the Timberwolves at the Grizzlies. Later on tonight, that series is tied at 2, so no matter who wins, they still have another game to go. That starts at 6:30, and then the Pelicans and the Suns, and that series, a 1 versus 8. The Pelicans, giving the Suns the business, tied up at 2-2. That will start at 8 o'clock. Some media news, which I've kind of been adding into the mix a little bit. The NFL draft's coming up this weekend, and Kirk Herbstreit let it be known that he will not be a part of the coverage for ESPN. He tweeted out I guess it was yesterday, that his doctors found a blood clot and that he will not be traveling out of an abundance of caution. He said, our team in Vegas will have it covered and I'll be watching, but he's going to be staying home for the draft because apparently they found a blood clot. So glad they at least identified that, but you will not see him, and that's the reason why this weekend. Elsewhere, Kay Adams, who has been a staple on, I guess, the NFL Network's morning show now for quite some time. She looks like she could be the latest to be heading out to Amazon to be a part of their new NFL rights. She's on Good Morning Football, and per the New York Post, she is leaving the NFL Network to go and join the crew over at Amazon. She's a leading candidate, per the story, to host their Thursday night football coverage this fall. And she had been hosting previously with Amazon the NFL Next Thursday night pregame show, so she has a little bit of crossover there already. She had been rumored to join, like ESPN in the past and whatnot, but I think she does a good job. I don't watch that show by any means, but I have seen clips of it, and I've seen her plenty now at this point to know she does a good job, and I feel like that'd be a good hire for the new Amazon launch.
She is super talented. Mm-hmm. She's funny. She's got a lot of personality. She'll do well there, and it's good, especially. And this is just because now they're going to have different eras of people covered. Al Michaels is getting older. You kind of want some pep and some verve in that. He's not do you believe in miracles necessarily anymore. I like that. I like the balance they have on that crew on Thursday night.
Yeah, that should be pretty good. So Kay Adams heading off to Amazon, it looks like. Elsewhere, Phil Mickelson's back in the news. Phil Mickelson's back in the news. You guys have been wondering kind of what's going on with him and what the whole deal is going to be about, what he's going to do as far as this Saudi tournament and the PGA Tour and all of that. Well, he has registered to play in next month's PGA Championship. He's also registered to play in June in the U.S. Opens. And his agents have requested a release from the PGA Tour that will allow him to play in the first event of the new 54 Golf Invitational Series, which is the Saudi Arabian-backed league. And you'll read it as LIV, but that's Roman numerals. It's 54 Golf Invitational Series. That takes place in London in June. His agent said he still hasn't decided whether he will play in any of the events and that he has no concrete plans, but Monday was a deadline to ask for a release if there was a conflict of some sort. So the 54 Golf Invitational in Saudi backed. It's going to be interesting to see how he kind of navigates this. But
well, the commissioner said that if players decide they want to go play in those tour or ask for exemptions, that they're going to be banned from the PGA Tour. Now, legally, I don't know what they can or cannot do. Golfers are individuals, basically, their own business. But he's been kind of out there, and this is from his agent, right, that released this information. Being able to defend his championship of the PGA Championship, that would be great. At Southern Hills, the U.S. Open, of course. I don't know what's going to happen from this, but eventually there's going to be this, there's the line, you draw it, you walk it, like Ian Poulter, Bubba Watson. These are Kevin Na. These are some of the names that are attached to what might be their first event.
No, there's 15 players, and there's 70 more that they haven't named just yet, but 15 players that are currently ranked within the top 100 have registered to play in that Saudi Arabian League event, and Phil looks like he's one of them. So, there's a lot of money at stake in this deal. Boatloads and boatloads of money that can be made. So I get it from that standpoint, but he has filed that waiver. So we will see kind of how this starts to work now as those draw closer, Phil Mickelson and the Saudi Arabian League. And obviously we'll find out more about the remaining players as well. A little UFC news, Francis Ngannou, he's the current heavyweight champion in Dana White's organization, and he says that he is never going to re-sign with the UFC. And he's a current heavyweight champ now, and a lot of this is contractual talks and things like that, but he's been kind of, I don't know if upset's the right word, but annoyed with the money situation, it seems like, for quite a while now. He's in a contract dispute as their current heavyweight champion. He's 17-3 as a fighter, and he's 12-2 in the UFC, and he's just an absolute knockout. Haven't seen very many people punch as hard as this guy, but he's one of their stars, and he says that the only way that he will re-sign with the UFC, or one of the only ways that he will re-sign with the UFC, is if he gets a fight with Tyson Fury as a part of the deal. Tyson Fury, of course, heavyweight boxing champion currently, just won this past weekend, I believe it was, and he's dabbled a little bit in WWE as well, but Francis Ngannou wants Tyson Fury to be a part of his next UFC deal, or it looks like he will not be re-signing with the UFC. He does like the company, says he wants to keep fighting for it, but he wants that Tyson Fury fight.
Let me tell you something. When I heard about Tyson Fury, and then, of course, I watched that guy, and he's, I'm old school.
The Gypsy King.
He beats the hell out of people. He's a big dude, man. He's knocked somebody else out. I thought, I got to be honest, I thought it was kind of a farce. And who knows anymore in this day and age of boxing, but
you're thinking of the Paul brothers.
Well, no, that's a different animal right there. But Tyson Fury is a bad son of a bitch. I'm telling you right now.
He is.
Yeah. I always think of Brad Pitt in that movie Snatch when I watch Tyson Fury, because he was a bare knuckle boxing champion in that movie. And then if you just made Brad Pitt the Incredible Hulk, that's Tyson Fury. But did you?
Although far fewer muscles, he is not the most defined guy in the world.
Did you see that Mike Tyson said he would fight one of the Paul brothers?
No, last I saw Mike Tyson, he was fighting a passenger on an airplane.
Exactly,
yeah. Oh, Mike Tyson. The thing with the Paul brothers is I respect their hustle and I respect the work that they put in, and I actually do think there's some talent there. But I don't want to see these size mismatches or these sport mismatches. Everybody that they practically gone crazy over has either been way less weight-wise or height-wise, or doesn't even box professionally. So they're not fighting actual boxers, nor are they fighting guys their size, which if you're a boxer, you fight guys in your weight division, in your class, and they're boxers. So I respect it, but there's also that side of it where I'm like, but you're not really fully doing it the way it's supposed to be done. I want to see you fight a guy that when you line up before the fight, it's eye to eye.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
I'm not excusing Mike Tyson's behavior for anything.
That dude was annoying.
But I will tell you this. If Mike Tyson asks you to move, history tells you move.
Yeah, he wanted,
that guy
the guy got
annoying.
what he wanted. He got attention. He got a video. He's famous. And he also has probably a concussion.
So I'll leave it with this. So Ngannou said he wants to fight Tyson Fury. He's still, though, keen to re-sign with the UFC, but that is the one condition. And then said he has a lot of other fights. He said he could do the Tyson Fury fight on the outside on his own, I suppose, but there are some fights he still wants in the UFC. He wants John Jones. He wants Stipe Miocic, and so we'll see what happens there, but at least some scuttlebutt about Fury and Ngannou. There's a few things off the radar.
And Honus Wagner's story Thursday on a story about him. Jana Van Gietenbeek from Stanford on her Twitter feed just popped this up. Sikkim committed. She's a Stanford basketball player who's committed to Nikki Cowan and Baylor.
Right.
And so they're adding a piece to that right there. Poor Stanford 2 years ago, last season, not this most recent one, won the national title a couple of years ago. She is from Colorado, sophomore guard, so she was on that national championship team. This is Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. D'Antoine Grimes will join us next on Sikkim 365 Radio. Stonewood Dental. I am about to, in about a week and a half, go through the process of getting a couple of implants. It's something long, long overdue. Dr. Steve Childress at Stonewood Dental has been working on my dental work, which I neglected for far too long. He's amazing what he's done, sometimes in some very bad pain, that he's helped alleviate the pain and also made my smile better. But there's still a lot of work to be done. And I'm having a couple of implants a week from Friday with Dr. Warren at Brazos Oral Surgery. And Dr. Childress is the one that kind of pushed me that direction. And then I will get the crowns and all of that, and I can't wait to be able to, because I have a couple of teeth that are they're gone. At my age, that's from probably neglecting my dental work too long and probably just lazy. So Dr. Steve Childress can convince me and has helped me through pain, molar in the back right. Oh, my God, in the middle of the night on Friday, he helped me. Dr. Steve Childress, if you're looking for someone you can trust, someone who's amazingly professional, and someone who will help through the thick and thin, including just cleaning, Stonewood Dental and Dr. Steve Childress.
Payments for qualified buyers at 2.9% for 72 months with $5,000 down cash or trade. TTL Extra. See dealer for details.
Summer driving is coming. Save now at Richard Carr's Summer is Coming savings event. Find summer savings like a 2015 GMC Sierra 2500 HD for $318 a month, or 2020 Buick Encore for $288 a month, or get a 2015 Cadillac SRX for $212 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection, and we pay top dollar for your trade. 100% approval is always our goal.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Here he goes. Jamba Joshua. The exclamation point.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Slackler for 3. Yes.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Learn more at richardcarr.com.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
We're going to hear from D'Antoine Grimes from Kilgore College momentarily. In fact, he's on the phone with us now. But here is a quote, a couple of quotes from Kilgore College, Brian Holbright. When I asked him to describe his star guard, D'Antoine's one of the best workers and leaders I've coached. He approaches the game, his development is elite. He has a great IQ for the game, speed, pace, can score in multiple ways. D'Antoine is motivated to be challenged, grow, and keep improving, and Baylor is a great place to continue his journey. And D'Antoine Grimes, in fact, from Kilgore College, Baylor commit, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. D'Antoine, thank you very much for your time. How relieved were you? You had to kind of watch what Baylor's roster was doing, and how relieved were you that something opened up for you to be able to play for Scott Drew and a team that just won a national title about 12 months ago?
Man, it took a load off my shoulders, man. I've been waiting for a really long time for this opportunity, and it finally came, and, man, I was excited, man.
D'Antoine, you had a lot of offers, 50 or something like that, crazy. How do you sift through that? Because everybody's going to tell you what you want to hear, or, I mean, and then you got to find the ones who want to tell you what you need to hear. It's got to be confusing and overwhelming.
Oh, yeah, it was. But, I mean, I just took my time with everything and just let everything work out for itself. I didn't really rush the process. Kind of just heard what everybody had to say and just took my time.
So, D'Antoine, you obviously were excited when Baylor got in touch. Can you take us through that on your end when they first got in contact with you, when you knew they had interest, and then just what were those initial conversations like for you?
It was back in July when I first heard from Baylor, and when they first started talking to me, they was just like, I could come in and be a key piece. I could come in and help from the point guard position and help bring another national title.
Yeah, and you were in a national tournament yourself with Kilgore, you and the Rangers, and the run you guys made up in Hutchinson, Kansas. So you've been a part of that kind of success, not the national title, but you knocked on that door. How much did the relationship or what you were able to do back in, you mentioned the summer a year ago at the JA48 showcase, how much what you did there maybe popped your name out even more?
Going into that showcase, I just knew that I had to take advantage of that opportunity. So leading up to that showcase, I stayed in the gym. I tried really hard to just lock in and focus and try to make a name for myself at that showcase. So when I went in, I had a mentality to kill everybody in front of me and just take advantage of that opportunity.
Where was Baylor on your list when it all started? As far
it was
as
at the top.
Okay.
Good answer.
It was at the top.
Yeah, that's what everybody wants to hear. Yeah, absolutely. How much familiarity do you have with the program? I mean, is there any connections there in any way? How much have you watched? Like, what's kind of the chemistry already there? Is this going to be kind of almost a blank slate in some ways, even though I know you've been talking to the coaches?
Really, how I got connected with Baylor was by a coach, my assistant coach at Kilgore. His name is Coach McCoy and Coach Brian Hobart. And ever since I got on campus at Kilgore, they've been talking to me about Baylor, and that's really how I got familiar with the program. And ever since then, I've been keeping up with them and loved everything about the program.
Chad McCoy was a Baylor graduate, or he's a Baylor graduate. He was a GA for Baylor basketball. Cody McCoy, I'm sorry. Cody McCoy. Do you know Bill Peterson?
Yes, sir.
How much, when did you first get to know him? He's on the staff as well, and I know he is close with Brian Hobart, the head coach that you play for.
Yes, sir. That's how I got connected with Coach P from the moment I got on Kilgore campus through Coach Hobart. So ever since me and Coach P started talking, we kind of had to build a good relationship, and ever since then, that's kind of been somebody I love talking to.
I know Jared Nunez and others have been a part of this as well. Coach Jacobs. We always ask this question anytime somebody commits to Baylor men's basketball. When was the first time you spoke to Scott Drew? First time you actually met him, and did you feel like he was real?
I don't remember exactly when I first talked with Coach Scott Drew, but when I first met him, man, it was unreal, man. Like his character, his personality really was unreal, man. It's crazy, bro, to have somebody to be that exciting and just happy all the time. So I love being around people like that.
Yeah, you're going to get a full dose of it, man, because it never stops. I mean, he is like that all the time. It's amazing. It really is. Now, D'Antoine, I grew up in East Texas, so I know a little bit about JUCO basketball out there, and I know the brand of basketball that's out there. That's a tough league that you're in. You play some great schools. I think most basketball heads, especially that pay attention to college, know about the great JUCO ball that's out there, but I mean, can you explain just the competition level and the toughness of playing where you did there with Kilgore and then the opponents you guys went up against on a regular basis?
The coaches and the players are very elite. This league is full of elite players and elite coaches that been doing it a long time. And, man, it's just crazy to play in this league. You got to bring it every night, every game. So,
do you feel like it made you better the last couple of years?
Oh, definitely. It made me way better. I knew I had to work hard to even be successful in this league. Like you can't be no chump.
Good way of putting it. Yeah.
You don't know this, D'Antoine. I covered that league forever. Did broadcast for Tyler Junior College. It is your arch rival, and a team you swept this past year on your way to winning the title and the conference as well. It's a league that's had a lot of players that have moved on to the NBA. Some from Kilgore College have made the NBA as well. When you look at that, how much will that help, and what will the transition or the difficulty be of moving from where you are to into the Big 12 with a team that competes at the level Baylor plays at?
Just day to day, one day at a time, just taking everything one day at a time.
D'Antoine, what's the scouting report on you from you?
What'd you say?
What's your scouting? If you're going to scout you to me, what's your scouting report?
A quick athletic guard that's going to get on you on defense, make it hard for you to score, and just make your life miserable.
Said a very important word there with defense, didn't they? Baylor loves to play some defense, that's for sure.
What did the staff tell you? The roster changed. You know, the roster had attrition, and they also had addition with Jalen Bridges, West Virginia, and then also Caleb Lohner, who's coming in from Brigham Young. What was that like, kind of watching the roster change a little bit, and how much did that in the end help you out?
It just gave me an opportunity to just come in and make a big impact and set my role and just come in and compete every day.
How have you talked to anybody of the players at Baylor? Has anyone been in contact with you?
On a visit, when I came on a visit, I talked to Langston, LJ, and a few of the other guys. I can't remember their names.
What was the visit like, and what did you expect, and what was it like?
I loved everything about the visit. As soon as I got on campus, they made me feel loved and welcomed, and that just made me make my decision.
Coach Holbright's had a huge influence on you as well. They found you in Florida. He had somebody that had seen you play. How much has he made a difference in your growth, and also, as you mentioned, a part of this decision?
He just gave me the opportunity, give me another chance to play the sport I love. He helped me become a better person, a better player. He taught me what it's like to compete at a high level and to come in and work hard every day, and that nothing's going to be given to me. So just having that made me who I am today.
Go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, D'Antoine, you're from Florida originally, correct? And I saw some Florida folks that were congratulating you when you put out the tweet last night. I was just curious, what's kind of the response been from family and friends and teammates and all of that since you made your announcement?
Man, everybody's excited, man. Everybody didn't even expect this to happen. So it's like really a dream come true for me. So I've been getting a lot of love from family back home, friends, coaches. So it's really been exciting for me.
You know, one of the things that this is late in the recruiting cycle, as you know, a lot of guys signed in November. Some committed a long time ago. Some signed, of course, even in this month of April. So you had to be patient, waiting for things to kind of fall into place. And you mentioned earlier that's the big relief. What was that like, not knowing for so long that you're going almost into the month of May and you hadn't yet been able to pull the trigger with Baylor?
I kind of knew what I was waiting on. So I knew that it was going to take some time, and I just really had to just stay patient and wait for what I wanted. So it all ended up happening and working out for me. So I'm grateful for this opportunity.
D'Antoine, I don't know you from the hole in the wall. We've never met or anything like that, but I can sense some happiness in your voice, I feel like this.
Yeah.
It's pretty special, huh?
Man, it's special, man. I'm really grateful for this opportunity, man. I'm going to take advantage of every day being on campus, and I'm gonna do my best to help bring a national title back to Waco.
D'Antoine, thanks for your time. Congratulations. We appreciate it. Look forward to covering you. And again, we appreciate you giving us some time. Tell Coach Holbright, I know he's sitting right there with you. We appreciate him as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That's D'Antoine Grimes. He found Kilgore College because of a friend of Coach Holbright at Kilgore College, gave him a little heads up, although he was on radars. goes to play a year or two at Kilgore College, goes to the GA48 JUCO Showcase in Florida near his hometown. It's in Ocala, and explodes. It's not like this was just all of a sudden, let's take D'Antoine Grimes. This is somebody who, as I mentioned, Pac-12, SEC, American Conference, Big 12 teams were on him, if not offers sincere interest, and Baylor gets D'Antoine Grimes, and the roster settles just perfectly for the young man to come and try to help them out getting back to where they have been.
And as Ashley said, it'll be interesting to see kind of when he initially enters kind of what his role is, because they are pretty loaded coming back. But, it's always about building for the future and having those guys getting ready for the next wave and the next wave. And, regardless of when his time comes, his name's called, so to speak, I think they'll have him ready because they always do. And he's got a great attitude on him as well.
If he's ready to play defense, he'll be ready pretty quick.
That's already the hard part. It's kind of out of the way when you're already talking about playing good defense. But we do have a bit of a bombshell news break here. You want to go for it?
NCAA, you guys, NCAA President Mark Emmert, who is probably one of the most lightning rod names in college sports, in sports in general, is stepping down effective in June of 2023. He'll serve out the rest of this year into the, school year of 22-23 and step down as president of the NCAA.
And this was just a quick history grab in my mind, trying to compare him to a president of the United States to kind of describe his tenure. I know a lot of people don't know a lot about Millard Fillmore, and that's a good reason because he wasn't a very good president. But Millard Fillmore was famous for the 1850 Compromise, which was about slavery, which somehow angered both pro-slavery and anti-slavery people so much that they did not want him to be president anymore on either side. At the powder keg time in American history, in the 15 years before this, or 10 years before the Civil War. So that's kind of...
Let's remember who he works for.
Yes, but Mark Emmert could not make a decision a lot. I mean, that was kind of his big thing. He just could not make a decision, or there was not really leadership at the top. He was kind of a talking head. And when they did make a decision, no one was happy about it. I mean, it wasn't good for anyone. And so he will, for worse. There's no for better with Mark Emmert. And
but Mark Emmert works for presidents as well. And so a lot of times maybe he took the blame for presidents. But I thought of him in the way you thought of him, as somebody who wouldn't freaking make up his mind or help something move. And now you have all this craziness in the landscape of college athletics because the NCAA, who he was the president, wouldn't make decisions.
I mean, that's the thing of it is, name something important that Mark Emmert did in his entire tenure that stands out to you. I can't think of a single thing. I'm sure there's something that he was a part of, but yes, he answers to school presidents and whatnot, but ultimately it's about what's best for the sport. There is a head for a reason, because you are the final decision maker. And yes, there's a lot of politics involved, but dude, you basically did nothing for the last 3-4 years. I mean, just sat on your freaking hands the entire time. Not my issue. Well, it is, but I can't do anything about it. So government, fix it for me. Schools, fix it for me. I don't know what he did. I don't know what he did. And you see from the media right now, there's already relaying a lot of just sighs of relief from schools across the country that are relieved that he's gone. And not to mention, they signed him to an extension a year ago. Remember the reactions to that? What in the hell are y'all doing? And now this is quote-unquote a mutual decision. I don't know how mutual it really was, but...
I'll say this, the problem here going forward with the NCAA is that, one, we have no idea what their governance structure is going to be. So when they select a new president, which it says, it's by June 30th of next year, of 2023 or before, if they have a president, well, they're probably, if I want that job, I want to know what the rules are going to be and what my job actually is if I'm taking over for Mark Emmert. And two, if they don't know that, what they're going to have is another gimp like Mark Emmert, who's just going to sit there and take it from everybody and not do anything. The new NCAA president needs to look people in the eye and be able to tell them, I appreciate your position, but we're moving forward this way because this is what is best.
You know what his legacy? His legacy is actually, we think of NIL and the transfer portal. Pete Thamel, I worked and looked this up. I remember this. His legacy of incompetence will reverberate long after he's gone. flubbed the TV deal for the NCAA tournament, which experts say is so undervalued it will be mocked, laughed at the cost of NCAA and billions of dollars.
Well, there's been a lot of mocking and laughing, just the state of college athletics in terms of not the product necessarily, but all of the changes that are going on. And, I don't put all that blame at his feet solely, but there was a massive amount of inaction over the last several years. And we all saw that light that was it was like a little pin light. It's like a star off in the distance. And all of a sudden it was like a flashlight. And all of a sudden it was like a floodlight.
And then it was a train.
And then it was a train right in front of you. And he just watched it the entire freaking time without even taking a step to the left or to the right. And I will never respect that. I know that not all of it is simple as just making decisions, because there are like legal issues and there are politics involved and all that. But I'm sitting here and I still don't know a single thing that he did really that was beneficial for college athletics. And maybe there's something that I'm just not thinking of, but I feel like, nope, that pretty much just sums up his whole run. Was he just sat there and took it and didn't change it when he could have, and they just said, everybody else take care of it and fix our problem for us.
And let's talk about the O'Bannon lawsuit, which is really the thing that knocked. I mean, he was the president during the O'Bannon lawsuit, and instead of being the leader who told the presidents, look, we're going to lose. So instead of losing and looking ridiculous, let's try to find a way to lose gracefully here and make some compromises before this all goes along. No, that's not what he did. He just said, well, we believe in the model that we have, and blah, 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 blah. That was his line. But the whole time, the new president, and I'll say this again, has to be someone who can look the presidents in the eye and say, what you're doing is wrong. It's not going to work. Let's think of this differently and move on.
Goodell has a lot of negatives in his career, but one of the things that Goodell has done is at times not been afraid to tell the owners what needs to be done, even though he works for them. Yes.
I mean, so, there are good, nobody likes commissioners. Mark Emmert could have done a ton of great things. Look, Bud Selig actually did a lot of good things for Major League Baseball, but do we like Bud Selig? No, but he's better than Rob Manfred.
Oh, yeah,
so
that's not even a question.
That's where you learn. So yeah, it's kind of a thankless job, but it's really going to be thankless if you suck out loud in it like Mark Emmert did.
Yeah, and you know what? How much of that was intentional, though? He just was basically paid to sit there and just take it, So if I'm somebody who's a candidate for the next, president of the NCAA, I got to have some assurances too. Like, what are we actually able to fight here? What can we actually do? What are we actually in charge of outside of the holding the tournament, basically? Like, what is our responsibility to college athletics? Do you guys know? I mean, at this point in time, do y'all really know? They have no identity. They're laughed at. They're not respected. Schools don't take them seriously. They don't even take the punishment seriously anymore. I mean, it is a shell of itself. And so you talking about the Big 12 needing a visionary. They need the visionary of visionaries to be able to figure out how to kind of steer college athletics into a good place. I don't think it's all as doom and gloom as it sounds sometimes. It's just that there are stories that keep building up as far as, the Life Wallet guy from Miami spending $500,000 every other day on basketball players. It's just kind of ridiculous. But, college sports is still very strong, and it can be even stronger, and it can last as long as it's lasted for another 100 years or whatever. But they got to have the right leadership, and I don't think that was Mark Emmert. So I just hope the person that steps in next isn't stepping in just to make a bunch of money to be a pincushion, basically.
Daniel Acton on the chat room. That's actually good news. UC Fast. Is Oliver Luck taking this job? His name comes up for any of these
I think Kirk Schultz already being mentioned a bunch. The Washington State,
the guy that Kansas State fans aren't real thrilled about. Baylor Bear 03. Will the NCAA be relevant in 5 years, or will power conferences choose to do their own thing?
That's the question.
UC Fast. We can never have nice things. Mark Ratner. Mark Emmert was a complete failure. Will the NCAA even exist in 2024? There's another Mark Oliver Luck. The new NCAA president from Mike needs to stand up to ESPN to ensure the NCAA, they control college sports instead of a network. And Daniel, I hated Miles Brand due to the McMurray mascot story, which was, of course, another former NCAA name. One other note, Kilgore College, somebody did ask, Mike, where is Kilgore College? It's about 2.5, 3 hours from here east of Waco. It's about 2 hours southeast of Dallas, and 45 minutes or so west of Shreveport, right there off of I-20.
It is East Texas.
It is East Texas.
Is the oil museum still there?
Athens, Tyler,
Big oil.
Kilgore, Longview.
Big oil territory.
Longview just north of Kilgore. Yeah, a bunch of oil. Yeah, a bunch of oil wells in that area and oil throughout that area. When we come back, John McClain, Hall of Fame NFL columnist, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Woodway, the city of Woodway, having that mother-daughter brunch coming up in May. Don't forget now, because that's now just a couple of weeks away. I remember when I started promoting that, and it was a couple of months ago. And here we are. They have that mother-daughter brunch. Go to discoverwoodway.com for more information and enjoy the day with your daughter or daughters as well. And on top of that, special events, fundraisers, banquets, rehearsal dinners, or even weddings, special type business meetings. They have the Carling Bright Arboretum, the pavilion. It is fantastic, and it's a great place. It will seat up to nearly 400 people. You could also bring in an outside catering service if you want for food, if in fact that's what you're going to serve. Now, also, discoverwoodway.com with 7 hotels in the Woodway area, the city of Woodway, that's not attached, although it's right at the hip of Waco. In fact, if you don't know about the hotels, they have 7 of them. It's just south of Waco, but it's basically the zip code might as well be. It's City of Woodway, discoverwoodway.com.
It's Ram Truck Month at Allen Samuels, where you can get a new 2022 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star with values up to $6,500, or get $3,000 bonus cash and 2.9% for 72 months. First responders get an extra $500. This year's incredible deals are at Allen Samuels in Waco. Take home power, performance, and reliability with your new 2022 Ram today.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with NFL Hall of Fame columnist John McClain. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports, the week of the draft, but I want to start with a question that's not about the NFL to John McClain. Hall of Fame writer, columnist, will be inducted into the Texas Sports Hall of Fame May 21st. John, what's the reaction been in Houston about the Yankees' letter that they tried to hide for so long, involving and admitting to them cheating as well?
Well, you can imagine people here, media fans, they've all gone crazy. They only got fined $100,000. And so I don't know why they made such a big deal out of trying to guard it. But every time a player, and several have done this, Chris Sale being a great example about all the teams that were cheating then, and the Astros weren't the only one. So anytime anybody here sees something like that, they're going to make a big deal out of it.
But, John, the Yankees weren't banging a trash can, so that makes them better, right?
That would make them better. And one of the things people always forget when they're talking about the Astros was their road record, how much better they played on the road, how much they won at Dodger Stadium. Dodgers kind of left that part out, unless they were taking portable trash can lids to bang on at Dodger Stadium and Yankee Stadium.
They're struggling a little bit right now, John.
Astros are weird. Same record for 3 years in a row. But it feels differently, Craig. It's when they get good starting pitching, the bullpen collapses. When the starting pitching is bad, like when Jake Odorizzi pitches, like tonight, then the bullpen has to take up the slack. Jose Altuve's on the injured list. He's hitting in the 100s. Kyle Tucker, Yuli Gurriel, and those guys were hitting in the ones. Alvarez hitting in the ones, and their catcher, Martin Maldonado's hitting like .059. And we're trying to think, at what point does his value to pitchers, his calling pitches and throwing out runners, is superseded by his horrible hitting.
John McClain, Houston Chronicle on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. So, here we have the NFL draft, and I saw where you were mentioning something that you're going to be a part of the coverage of that as well. The Texans, when you say what do they need, they pretty much need everything, don't they?
Well, they don't need a quarterback. There are some positions they need more than others. They need a right defensive end who's the passer. Smith's defense, they don't blitz much. They were second in the NFL in most blitzes. And so they like to get the rush from the 4 linemen. They don't have a pass rusher at right end. They need a pass rusher. They need a corner. They need a safety. But I believe when your running game is the worst in the NFL and the worst in franchise history, you should take an offensive lineman like Ike Ekwonu from NC State or Evan Neal from Alabama, because you got to get better up front. You need to get more physical up front. And then you get the pass rusher or the cornerback or the safety with the 13th pick, or you trade up a little bit. They got a lot of ammunition to trade. 10 picks this year, 11 picks next year, 9 the year after. And you trade up a few spots to fill a need. And then I think they should use their second-round pick, 37th overall, if he's available, on Iowa State running back Breece Hall. Their running backs right now are Marlon Mack and Rex Burkhead. Their leading rusher last year was Rex Burkhead, which is the reason their running game is pathetic with a capital P.
John, what do you think about Trayvon Walker now looking like he's the odds-on favorite for the pick of the Jaguars, even though came in as a first-round pick, but all the way to the top was kind of a surprise?
I'll tell you this, Paul. Georgia won the national championship, of course, had a great defense, got 4 or 5 guys going to go in the first round, but he didn't play great. He didn't have great stats. They played him in end and tackle. They dropped him into coverage sometime. 9.5 sacks in his career. So his stock has gone up because of his incredible combine and pro day in shorts and a T-shirt. And give me Aiden Hutchinson. You want to know about Aiden Hutchinson? Just watch Michigan's tape. You'll see him as a terrific pass rusher, a good run stopper, a guy who plays hard on every play. And this Trayvon Walker reminds me of 2006, when the last day, all of a sudden people said, what? That big kid from North Carolina did what? Who is Mario Williams? And Mario Williams at 6'6" and 290 had an incredible workout. And so everybody started talking about him. And then he ended up going first overall at Texans, and he was worth it. Double-digit sack guy here and in Buffalo. And that's what Trayvon Walker reminds me of right now. But I still would rather have the guy where you have it on tape and you can look at that tape any day. If one of those guys is available when the Texans pick at 3, and I don't think they will be, but if they are, it'll take the Texans 2 seconds to take one of them.
John, the Carolina Panthers, obviously it's been a bit of a rocky road for Matt Rhule so far in his time there. And then here recently, as they're leading into the draft, there's been kind of mixed messages, and it's just been weird. But what are your thoughts on Carolina and what Matt Rhule must do? I guess finding a quarterback is probably number one, but that's where some of the mixed messages have come from. So just kind of how do you view the state of Rhule and the Panthers as they enter this draft?
There's no quarterback worth the 6th pick. There's not. If they want to reach for one and play a rookie like Kenny Pickett over Sam Darnold, who was the 3rd pick in 18 and has had some good games, they've already changed his quarterback coach again, his offensive coordinator again. When you don't have stability at quarterback on your coaching staff, like Baker Mayfield, how many head coaches, coordinators, were quarterback coaches and systems has he had since he's been in Cleveland? If he'd had stability with one coach the whole time and he didn't play in a stadium on Lake Erie that is the windiest in the NFL, how much better would Baker Mayfield be? So if Matt Rhule takes, say, Malik Willis, and he needs a year to develop, Matt's replacement will be coaching him as a starter. And if he takes Kenny Pickett, who started 49 games at Pitt, Desmond Ridder started 48 at Cincinnati. If you take a guy that is more ready to step in and play, but still might not be very good, you're just spinning your wheels. Then next year, a great quarterback draft, you may be in a position to draft C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young, and then all of a sudden you've done it 2 years in a row. Not many teams will do that. Arizona did it, I think, with Josh Rosen and Kyler Murray, and admitted their mistake. But to me, I'm going for a position. I'm not reaching on a quarterback who may or may not be any good.
But then if you're stuck with Sam Darnold, how does you just have to hope that Sam Darnold plays better and offer it up to the football gods if you're Matt Rhule?
Or you hope that he plays bad and then you get Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud next year. It wouldn't be Matt Rhule. It would be his replacement. But Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis is not going to save Matt Rhule's job.
John, we had Brad Sham on yesterday, Randy Galloway last week, and, of course, you as well. Shireen is joining us tomorrow as we kind of go down a trip down those being inducted May 21st. And it's amazing. And it's ridiculous. We had Brad Sham. We talked about Frank Lieber, who did everything, and, of course, did some Cowboys games and national broadcast. And then, of course, Bill Mercer, he did everything and covered the JFK assassination, plus wrestling at the Sportatorium. It's a pretty amazing group that you're a part of, along with them thinking of that about you as well.
Well, I'm still blown away. I'm glad they moved it to Waco, my hometown, because I have more of a home field advantage. Every other inductee's from the Metroplex. So I'm kind of representing the rest of Texas. And that group is incredible, of course. But our original one that we put in 16 years ago, with the idea that we would never do it again, we put in Blackie Sherrod, Dave Campbell, my goodness, Mickey Herskowitz from Houston, and the other Frank Fallon, Jack Dale, Kern Tibbs, Vern Lundquist, and writer. My mind's gone blank. And when we did it with the idea we would never do it again. And then Cooper Jones, when he was the head of the committee 2 years ago, he's the one who came up with the idea. It's about time we do another class of media. And when I was told that I was in it, I just couldn't believe it. Dave Campbell, of course. I don't belong in a group that includes Dave Campbell and Blackie Sherrod and Mickey Herskowitz and those guys. And Dan Jenkins. I don't. I'm honored to be there, but to me, it's like you got a first tier and you got a second tier, and I'm in the second tier, and I've got a lot of people coming. I've got 3 tables, and I can't wait to be there. And Bill Goss, one of the best baseball players in Waco history, and Richville and MCC and Baylor. Bill I've known since the 3rd grade. He's people coming. Bill's the one I've known the longest. He and his wife Sandy. So Bill and I played Little League together. So I can't wait, because the fact it's Texas Sports Hall of Fame, but it's also in my hometown. That makes it even better. And I just hope I don't get choked up.
I got a feeling you already are. It sounds like you already are, and that's great. You earned it. Thank you for your time. We'll talk to you again very soon. Enjoy the coverage of the NFL draft, my friend.
I can tell you what the last 3 words of my speech will be. Sick 'em Bears.
There you go.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Hey, one quick. This is from Kyle Bowlesby. This is Bob Bowlesby's son. The worst leadership gig in sports, the NCAA president. Not sure it's close among other big leagues, NBA, WNBA, NFL, all the ones he mentioned. I like a little like being president of the United States. You won't be liked, you will be booed, and you will have to deal with hundreds of representatives that have varying interests and motives.
That's very true. I mean, very true. But you do have to, the best leaders are the ones that, can take that.
What did Mack Rhoades walk into?
That.
An absolute disaster hellhole, and he managed a way, even when it wasn't easy months in, to find his way out of it, And I don't think that there's as much of a quick emergence that the NCAA can make, or that anyone, individually can make, that's going to pull them out of this pile of rubbish that they're in right now. But they got to have somebody that believes they can, somebody that believes in some type of a process to change something. But yeah, I almost wonder if we just watched the death of the NCAA with Mark Emmert stepping down.
It could be.
I mean, truly.
That's what some of the people in the chat room have said as well.
Oh, is it? Yeah. Okay, well, there you go. Yeah. I mean, we're all thinking the same thing. That might be the death knell right there, is him stepping down. And I saw Ralph Russo mention, he said that Baylor president Linda Livingstone would be a great candidate or whatever. And I agree, she would be. But then it got us to talking during the break about, but who wants that job? Well, you talk about the Big 12 commissioner, who wants that job? People were saying a week ago, even though there's plenty of reasons why you would want it. Well, now that job looks great in comparison to the one that just opened up.
He was there 12 years as the president. I think he was at the University of Washington. In fact, our good buddy Tony Altomore was talking about, hey, ask Softy about whether he could see this coming. All right, it's 5:52. When we come back on a day when Mark Emmert steps down, among more, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Paul's Top 5 is next.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links, and you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrapped fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. House. Full-service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show, whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Nitchie Group Insurance Agency. With the Nitchie Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Nitchie Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Nitchie Group at 1-800-258-8302.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Top 5 Texas spring game observations. I actually saw this one on a loop a couple times yesterday during the show. And went back and watched a little bit of it this morning to kind of fill in the gaps. There was only about 6 series in there that were informative, and the rest of it, the way that formatted was.
Coach Sarkisian mentioned, at least from the reports of people who I follow who cover them, and even some things maybe off the Longhorn Network, because of the lack of depth at the offensive line, that they were going to kind of tone things down a little bit.
Yeah.
And they did. But I enjoyed watching it. It was pretty good.
Yeah. Number 5, this looks like a team that will score, but is it enough? I think they're going to score. I mean, that's going to be, and they're going to have big plays and all that, but is that going to be enough to put them in the discussion for the conference title? I don't know, because you've got a lot of more balanced teams in this league, but there are some interesting things going on there on that offense.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely going to score a lot of points. I agree with that. I will say, I think that will be somewhat interrupted. I mean, if you just look at their skill guys, you could believe that they score 60 a week. But, you look at the O-line, and then you say, okay, well, let's take a few points off of that. Because I definitely feel like we would have seen probably a handful of sacks in the time that we were watching that otherwise ended up just being completions because you can't hit the quarterback. But if they can answer that O-line question, then – I mean, look out, because their receiving core is nasty, their running backs are nasty, their quarterback's obviously a step up, at least we assume he is. So, yeah, they're definitely going to have that off. And that's why you hired Steve Sarkisian. It's for his offensive mind. I mean, that's his bread and butter. So they should be good, and I expect they will be.
Number 4, the defense needs a few more playmakers. And that kind of goes in line with, is it enough? Because, look, they could wind up scoring, 38 points in a game, but they might give up 48 with that defense. I mean, there are good players, but are they at the – not that they're not at the wrong – like you had to take good players, right? But do they have the right players at the right spots to slow down other offenses? Oklahoma's going to have a big offense. Baylor and Oklahoma State are going to kind of run right at you. Can you slow that down? Can you stop it? And can you make them play your style? I'm not sure they have enough talent on that side of the ball right now to do that.
Most of the acquisitions, I know they've like 40 players or whatever, 40% of the roster's been redone. 28, of course, freshmen coming in from the class of 2022, among others. But then there's all the transfers. Am I wrong here? Most of the transfers were on the offensive side of the ball?
Absolutely, they are.
And they're waiting on O'Shawn Mathis.
There's 4 guys from Bama alone on the offensive side. So, I mean, you got Billingsley, the tight end. You got the receiver that just committed. You got the running back in Robinson, right? And then
he was on the team last year.
Yeah, he's a transfer. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. But so that's another dude from Bama, though. But all their transfers pretty much. They did get the Watts from Ohio State in the secondary.
Of course, is an offensive player.
But the Watts from Ohio State was a defensive back, so they did touch the defense. But no, it's mostly been offense, yeah.
Number 3, the offensive line still has a ways to go. Craig, you mentioned it. They are... fortunately, they've got some speed, and they've got potentially a quarterback that can get it out quick, but... against good defenses, and there are good defenses in the league, and there's a good defense they're going to play in the non-con in the second game. Are they going to be able to get their skill players out alive? That's the thing I'd worry about the most if I'm Texas. I'm playing Alabama in the second week. And now, does Alabama have the same 5 horses they've had for the last couple of years on the defensive line? No, but the step isn't drastically down. And they have Will Anderson, who is going to be a nightmare for everybody he plays this year. And that's the second week. So can you bounce back from what will be a very physical game, and you'll probably be shown to be deficient on that line? Can you bounce back physically and mentally to really rally, even in spite of your playmakers?
Is there a chance they're getting Alabama I don't think there's ever a good time. Is there a chance that Alabama themselves is not flawless this year early on? I'm not trying to say they're going to beat Alabama.
Well, their best offensive player and their best defensive player are back, so I'm not really worried about it.
Just kind of reading the tea leaves of their spring game, and again, it's a spring game, but they do have some issues with the offensive line. And, again, the wide receivers are young, but again, all 5 or 10 of them are probably – could start at every other university. This is about spring. I know, Paul, I'm not trying to get too far ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I see what you're saying, but they're still Alabama. So, they're not maybe the unbeatable force that they have been, but they're still, at worst, the second best team in college football on paper, and Georgia would be the only argument, really. So, they could catch them at a good time. I mean, we saw plenty of early season upsets over the years that you wouldn't have expected. And so kind of like, the Notre Dame game a few years ago, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we're hearing Texas is back because they beat a team at Alabama that's maybe not as good, like you said, but I don't know. And you got Bryce Young coming back.
What about the LSU game with Joe Burrow? That early game in Austin was a freaking amazing game, and it took Joe Burrow magic for LSU, who went on to win the national title, to win that game in Austin.
My point with it was, though, that I would venture to guess that the front 7 of Alabama is a step or 2 ahead of the front 5 at Texas.
No question. No, I think they have a bunch of young kids, young men. Some are going to have to play right away, and some of them probably are good enough to do so.
Yeah, and that's the second game of the season. So, again, hopefully sometimes you can get beat up in those things and never really regain who you really are. Number 2, they are loaded at the skill positions. Loaded. There is not a deficiency across the board. Any team in the country would want their running backs and wide receivers. Any single one. Even Ohio State and Alabama, they have great ones. Alabama did because half of them are from there. But
they were Alabama's backups in some cases.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. But, everybody would want these skill players.
Billingsley's the one that, remember, Aaron Suttles talked about how he doesn't know how that didn't work out. I saw him in the spring game, too. He looks the part, no question.
Yeah. We're number 0, right? We're in 0. I think he's wearing 0.
He's going to be a a nice piece to what they're looking for as well.
Yeah, which goes back into they're probably going to score a lot and make some big plays, and they're going to have a lot of good clips. But
well, hey man, this is probably Bijan's last run, and I know they'll have other running backs coming in over the next few years that will have a lot of hype as well. But they are loaded. It's Bijan's final ride most likely, and you go get Nayor and you get. Why do I keep forgetting the freaking Alabama receivers? Ajayi Hall. Thank you. Gosh, I cannot remember that. But yeah, they are loaded for bear, no doubt. Quinn Ewers has a lot of toys to play with.
Yeah. And that's Xavier Worthy coming back, who's really damn good too. And number one, don't know what this translates into, but Quinn Ewers has an excellent arm. It is no joke. He can make some ridiculous throws. I don't think
different angles.
You just see it differently. I'm watching this game, and it's no knock on Hudson Card, but I'm just seeing him thrown into the portal because, this guy has much better arm, and he brings a little bit more athletically than Hudson Card does overall. It's just how it is, and Hudson Card's going to probably be good wherever he winds up in the portal, and I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen, but after watching it, and again, I'm not anointing Quinn Ewers, but
what does that say about C.J. Stroud?
You watch the ball come. Yeah, it says a lot about C.J. Stroud. You watch the ball kind of come out of Quinn Ewers' hand, and it's different.
Yeah, he's good. So was Garrett Gilbert, and
so was Jarrett Stidham,
and Jarrett Stidham among others. And there's no question he has the tools. He did also throw as a young quarterback, and even sometimes an older quarterback. He had some throws. Even Sarkisian mentioned that he really wishes he had back.
I'm ready for football season to start just so we can see Quinn Ewers play and have something to actually base everything on.
Yeah.
He is incredibly talented. There's no doubt about that. He might be the next great quarterback at Texas. I know that they believe that. But my God, I don't know that I've ever seen a player talked about more than this kid's been talked about. And I know part of it's regionally where we are, but have not seen him play an official down at all, and yet I've heard like 4 years worth of talk about him and how great he is, and so I think he's going to be really good. He might be the difference maker for them, but now I just want to see it because I'm tired of hearing about it.
Yeah, a lot of pressure, but
he's got a gun, no doubt.
Thank you, Armstrong, Sims, Jack McKenzie earlier. Was Emery here earlier today? Emery went. Did we see him? I didn't see him.
He is helping us from wherever he is.
And Levi Caraway, of course. Thank you, Emery, for doing what you're doing. Levi's covered a baseball game. Paul, Catalina, Craig Smoak, thanks to our incredible sponsors. Over 2 years strong and continuing to grow. And then, of course, you on the chat room. Not the bots, but you, human beings that have been a part of it. Tried to read as many of them as we could. The text line as well. I'm David Smoak. Good night, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.